either way you want to put it. I guess I'm going to start from the left and work my way all the way down to the right. So we're going to start with Isaiah, Josiah, Steve, Tim, and right back to me. Start on your position, Isaiah. What is your position?
Of course I accept evolution because, I mean, for the obvious reason, there's an apparent phylogeny. But that's all I have to say. Josiah, you have something to say?
Right. My position is that the Bible is literally true. It's the inerrant word of God, and that's basically it.
Steve or
My position,
Tim?
I'm sitting down at the moment, but as far as evolutionary theory, it's the most explanatory and predictive modeling we have to explain biodiversity, and I accept it as such.
Steve is dumb.
Brilliant refutation there.
I think the next
Wait,
is
did I say-
Wayne.
His position is sitting down. What?
Oh, I am.
Oh,
Wayne,
Tim, you want
Wayne,
to
you're
take it?
next. Oh, I thought.
Oh, no,
yeah.
you did his me.
Yeah. My position is that the Bible is completely true and the Earth is 6,000 years old and creation happened.
Bingo, creation happened. Now, which one of you guys believe in evolution but also believe in a creator? I think it's you, Steve, right?
No, I'm more of an apatheist. I don't have a dog in the fight where it comes to theism or atheism. I'll accept any valid argument if it's sensible enough.
Right,
I'm
cool.
against younger creationism, though. That deity I do not accept. So if you want to take me as an atheist in that regard, that is fine.
But you're not saying, there absolutely isn't a God or whatever, what have you?
Correct. I'm not an ontological naturalist. I'm only a methodological naturalist.
All right.
Right.
So I guess, Isaiah, since you were the one who, I guess you more or less was more. I don't even know the word, but because you wanted, you're actually the reason why we're all here. So give Isaiah a big hand for that. He was the one who basically shot me a text, and he was like, "Hey,
Give it up, Isaiah.
he's like, yeah, we should have a roundtable discussion." And I'm like,
Yeah.
you sent me a text when I was doing nothing but eating cereal, so I was like, this will give me something to do.
Yeah,
I'm
and
hear
Timothy
about
still is.
that.
So Isaiah, if you want to start it off, just start talking.
I would begin to. I actually wrote a post today on genetics. I think genetics would be the strongest support of evolution.
Mhm.
Maybe besides paleontology, but that's a matter of opinion.
If I
Yeah,
may,
it doesn't matter.
can we just all get on common ground of what evolution is as far as a definition?
Oh yeah, we
Distinction
definitely
is
have to define
between
that.
evolution and evolutionary theory, because they're not the same thing.
Yeah, we definitely have to define our terms here.
I
So I
agree.
mean, you would all agree that evolution would be, well, evolution would be the change in allele frequency in populations over time.
Yeah,
We all get some
evolution,
common ground there. Okay.
evolution is a change in a population.
A frequency of alleles, yes. I'm fine with that basal definition.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
Right, and I just want to say this, that there will be random times where you'll hear a noise in the background say, Josiah! Or something like
Oh
that.
yes, we will hear
so,
that.
Yeah.
We love those
May
times,
cause
don't
me
you?
to have to leave at
Did you
a
eat my
moment.
sandwich?
Did you eat my sandwich? You're the only one home. You're going to eat my sandwich, boy!
I'm actually going to
We
leave
love
now.
those
I'm probably going to watch
Jojo.
this live until I see I need to come back. Because I believe the Christians got this under control. Yeah.
Well, Josiah, I mean, do you accept the basal definition of evolution as a change of allele frequency in a given population species from generation over time? I mean, is that cool with you?
It's cool with me.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I just thought about how Fiona says the word allele, or she says allele frequencies.
Yeah, she says allele. She has an accent. I say allele, so it's either or. Potato, potato.
Oh, Josiah left. But
All right.
I was pointing out in a post that I wrote today. how genetics would probably be the strongest support of common descent,
Hmm.
especially between humans and chimpanzees.
Read it if
Oh
you
my
can
god.
find it.
Hold on, oh, it was a long post.
While he's looking that up, Wade, did you ever get a chance to look in those the discrepancies that I pointed out to you from Hovind's Creationist Manual? You said you were
You
going to
know,
check.
you showed some to me while we were on your broadcast, and what happened was I asked Isaiah. I said, "Hey, can you send me a link of the video where Kent was talking to the young lady who has the PhD
Fiona.
and yeah, Fiona." And so I was looking at the video, and there was a lot of noise in the background or whatever. But from what I've seen, and I can agree with you. I agree with you on one thing. Uh, with Kent's rebuttals, they were kind of like the same thing that we've heard before, over and over again. So that's exactly what I do agree on. It's the same, same stuff that we heard in the seminars. Which, if that's the case, um, I'll talk with Kent on seeing if he can find some new arguments because it isn't looking good.
Well, especially the ones that I demonstrably pointed out from you from the radiometric journals that obviously were different entries, like on the Mammoth that was dated differently. That needs to be. I mean, that was actually brought to his attention 10 years ago, and he claimed that he got the claim. I believe it was from ICR or AIG, one or the other, and that he would look into it and no longer use it if he found it to be, incorrect. I don't know if he's just not had time to go look into it or whatever, but those two ones that I gave you about Baby Dima, those are well known. Those are well known that it could not have been as claimed from his creationist manual, because he had claimed that it came from the 1975 source when Baby Dima wasn't even found until 1977. Plus, it wasn't even found in Alaska; it was found in Siberia.
Right, I heard about this. Somebody else brought that to my attention, and I was like, oh wow, that's something that needs to be fixed. So,
Okay, just curious.
Well, I found the post. Hold on, I'm gonna switch around so I can read it and be heard.
all right, got you.
You may get a bit of an echo now if you speak. In the post I said I think creationists have some explaining to do. If evolution isn't true, why does it look like it's true? There's a gene called urate oxidase, or UOX. UOX is responsible for oxidation of uric acids, not uric acids. So an organism doesn't have excess levels of urate oxidase. In humans, UOX doesn't function because of a nonsense mutation. The 33rd amino acid position on exon 2 has been replaced with a TGA, which is a stop codon. This premature stop codon doesn't allow UOX to have a functional protein in humans. Guess who else has a non-functional UOX due to a nonsense mutation? Not just our closest relatives, the chimpanzees, but so do gorillas and orangutans. And it's a nonsense mutation on the same exon and same amino acid position. The most logical conclusion is that this mutation was inherited from a common ancestor of all great apes. Who said all extant great apes? Another piece of evidence in favor of common ancestry is MHC-DRB2. This gene in humans goes by HLA-DRB2. It goes by PATR-DRB2 in chimpanzees, and GOGO-DRB2 in chimps, or GOGO. MHC DRB2 is in a family of genes which determines histocompatibility, which is what determines who you can give and receive tissues from. In HLA DRB2, exon 2 is gone, and exon 3 has a 20 base pair deletion. In GOGO DRB2 and PATR DRB2, it's broken the exact same way. Again, only common descent explains this fact. One more fact, only explained by evolution, or I should have said common descent, is GCase. GCase is an enzyme responsible for the hydrolysis of glucose. There are two GCase genes in humans, one functional and one pseudogene. The pseudogene has a 55 base pair deletion in exon 9, resulting in it being non-functional. The exact same thing is found in our two closest relatives, gorillas and chimpanzees. Again, only common ancestry explains this. So I ask, if evolution isn't true, why does it look like it's true?
Okay, you might want to get everybody on the same page of what actually a nonsense mutation is, what a stop codon is, if they're not
Oh,
aware. If they are, then we can move on.
no.
Explain
I'm
that
not.
TGA
Yeah.
is a stop codon, that it cannot be transcribed. That's why it doesn't. It won't eventually produce a protein in transcription because the gene itself is never transcribed. Unless everybody kind of is unaware, kind of understanding what he's pointing out there. Wayne.
Well, from what I got, you're saying basically that we have basically some of the same mutations that these other animals have, right? That's what you're trying to point out.
Well, the same mutation in the same gene, and even
It's the
down to
same
the same
location.
down exon and amino acid position.
Right.
So we have basically. So what you're saying is we have basically some of the same parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you look at I think is what he's pointing out is if you look at hominidia, if you look at all the great apes, okay, the way these genes are broken and where they were non-functional anymore, where they're pseudogenes, they're all exactly broken the exact same way. And in order for that to happen, the only way that would be possible is that if these mutations and these indels are basically passed down what's called vertical gene transmission from basically parents to kids. It has to be a direct lineage. It's the only explanation of why these similarities could exist with the exact same broken genes. And if you go look at the phylogenetic tree, you can look at other species which are close where the gene is still broken, but a little less broken. There's a little less mutation there. And in some, when you go further back in some species, the genes are functional. Like in the gulab situation where you have a functionality of vitamin C synthesizing. When in hominidia, we cannot synthesize our own vitamin C. That's the point that he's making.
Well, I haven't studied any of this so far, so this is the first time I'm hearing about any of these arguments. But from me just going like off the top of my head, number one, you say we share X, Y, and Z with our relatives, therefore they're our relatives. So you're basically concluding before you even laid out the evidence that we're already relatives with these supposed common ancestors that you're trying to prove. It's basically saying the only way I can kind of relate this is with people. I know a lot of people say African Americans come from Africa, and that most African Americans are African, which now everybody's finding out that isn't true. If I did a DNA test right now, my DNA would trace me back to Nigeria, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you're Nigerian." Well, no, my DNA gets traced back to Nigeria because I'm actually Hebrew. I'm not African. I'm Hebrew, and the Hebrews fled to Nigeria because the Hebrews look like the Africans, and you can't tell them apart. Hence
Last
the
time I
Exodus
checked,
story.
isn't Nigeria in Africa?
Well, yeah, but the Hebrews were in the Middle East, and they went from the Middle East down to they fled to Nigeria because they were in Africa before. Remember, they fled from Africa. They fled from Egypt.
Oh, I know there's a couple of exodus. I'm not that familiar with the accounts of the Bible of the mass exodus and things of
Yeah,
that nature, but
and so from a DNA test, people say, "Oh, you're Nigerian," and then unless I had like a historical record or an account telling me how I got to Africa or how I got to Nigeria, I would just assume that I'm freaking Nigerian. That's what's been going on for years and years and years. We went from being called nigger, and that actually came from the word Niger. They thought we were from Nigeria, and then we went from being called nigger to Negro to black to African American. So what I'm basically saying is it's the same thing. We're trying to find our origins about how life began or how life evolved or whatever. Just because, like you said, just because it looks like evolution is true, and unless we have an account, unless we have like an historical eyewitness account of how we got here, how this happened, uh, we really don't know.
Well,
well, I think
I
you're
would say
confusing. I
we
think you're.
do. Oh, sorry.
Hey,
We do have
I'm sorry.
the
I was
genetic
just.
record.
But
Yeah, I think he's confusing lineage with genetics. Like, Wayne, real quick, if you took your genome and you took your cousin's genome and you
mhm,
compare them to a common ancestor, which is one of your grandparents, the
yeah,
only possible way you could have that genomic combination is that if your grandparents had children and they had children, and you have, a brother, two brothers, and then you are a descendant of one and your cousin's a descendant of the other, correct? That's the
yeah.
only explanation. It's the same reasoning we use throughout the entire phylogenetic tree.
Well, the only thing I can even say, because there is, I actually came up with this conclusion from reading the Book of Enoch, because I read the Book of Enoch, I read the Bible, and then there's another book. A lot of this stuff people call it what's the word Tim? You know the word apocrypha or
Apocryphal.
whatever. Yeah, people
Yeah.
are like, oh, I don't read that, don't read.
Or
If
pseudographia.
yeah, whatever you call it. Yeah, people are like, oh, I don't believe that, or whatever. That's nice. That's fine for you. But those books, they help you piece everything together. And the only thing I can even say, if evolution is true, the only reason it might be true, if it is because the Book of Enoch says that there were angels who came down and started having sex with animals, and then they started giving birth to these weird offspring. So that's the only way I can see if it's true.
Well, when you say true, I don't know what you mean by true and what you mean by false. When you look at evolutionary theory, okay, the question has to be is one, okay, I don't accept when people say, do you believe in it? Because that implies that it doesn't exist. Evolutionary theory certainly exists. So there's no such thing as a belief in it or not. We know the theory exists. If somebody agrees with it or not, that's a different story. But to say you believe in it or not, that literally means do you believe that it exists? As
Hmm.
far as the actual theory, the question is, does it model observation? Does it actually make predictive abilities? Does it explain what we observe? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And that's what really the question needs to be: is if it doesn't explain observation, where does it not explain it?
So, Tim, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to take this one?
You go for it. I haven't studied much of these genes, so
Nah, me
yeah, I'm
neither.
up to date on this.
But my thing on where number one it doesn't explain number one, everything in the universe is running down. We're not evolving, we're devolving. So just say we came from one species and we evolved into another species. I can't really get my head around that because I've never seen it. I've never. And then they say, oh well, it takes millions of years for it to happen. Well, you can't
Nope.
observe what happened millions of years
It can,
ago.
it can actually it can actually happen in a generation or two, Wayne. It doesn't
Hmm.
take millions of years sometimes, and it's not directional. There's no directionality in evolutionary theory. There's no degrading. There's no up down. There's no loss of information. There's a genome change because of the frequency change of alleles. That's all it
Hmm.
is. There's no up or down, right or left evolution. There's just
Now, is
evolution.
it based on location?
Well, it's based upon
Uh,
selective
environment is
pressure.
a factor.
Yeah,
Okay, so that would be natural selection.
sort of. I mean, if we want to get into more specifics, we can. But I'm trying to keep it as far as doesn't explain observation. Natural selection is just basically how nature will select. You do, say like you with predators that are more likely to see a certain color of a bug that stands out more in its environment, so far it's going to eat them more. And then so a darker color might actually reproduce more. That's called differential reproduction. And it's all nature. It's all natural. There's no intelligence involved in that.
Right. Well, I'm saying we certainly do see changes, but as far as the changes being as far as one species of animal evolving into another species or evolving into a greater
Well,
species.
that's not how it works, though. A species of
Right.
animal doesn't. I mean, it's a divergent process. In other words, it's not a linear change. It's not a species A turning into species B. It's species A diverging into species A and then species B. Both of them are still in existence. So we see that all the time. It's called allopatric speciation, which is a very well documented type of speciation that we're well aware of. Even creation.com fully admits that allopatric speciation exists. In fact, the creationist model depends upon allopatric speciation to explain biodiversity. If you want to look at the creationist model, there are flaws in it as well, but you have to have speciation in both evolutionary biology and in creationist um, models because without that, neither one of them would explain biodiversity. So you have to have speciation. It does exist. We've documented it. We've seen it. We've seen various types of it. We've also seen sympatric speciation, and what's another type called parapatric. But for the most part, allopatric is the most common. This is a fact. This is not debated in creationist communities. They know that it exists.
What's all that noise in the background?
I'm making some mac and cheese right now.
Mike, can you make mac and cheese? I'm making all hungry. Timmy's sitting there eating breakfast, and you're eating mac and cheese, and I'm sitting here starving to death. Great.
Well, as far as us being ancestors of animals or whatever, so basically what you guys are implying that we're ancestors or we're descendants of animals, right?
Well, we have common ancestry with any animal. Yes, all animals, all eukaryotes, and they all share common ancestry. Correct.
So then it gets a little bit more philosophical because if we're descendants of animals, are we animals? And then if we're animals, then
Yes.
that.
Well, I mean, it's no different than saying we're mammals or we're vibrata or we're chordata or whatever taxon level you want to assign to us. We are those things. We are a nested hierarchy. I mean, do you accept that we're a mammal?
Yeah, well, when you say mammal, like we breathe on land. Yeah, we're land breathing creatures.
Warm-blooded, live
Right.
birth, which not always has to be the case. There are some species that are mammals that don't give live birth. Monotremes, which is like platypus, will actually lay eggs. But for the most part, most mammals do have live birth. But we're also primates. We're also eukaryotics, which is from the first domain. We're not bacteria. We're eukaryotic, right? We have cells that have a nucleus, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so all these things are different taxon levels. That's all they are. They're just descriptors. And ape is a descriptor. It means a tailless monkey.
Isaiah, you left? Hello?
Oh yeah, I'm back.
There you go. You left, came back. Well, see, that's the part where not only is it hard for me to believe, but me, I have not seen like any of because the evidence that Isaiah you brought up earlier, we share the same mutations and the same genes with this creature, therefore we descended from this creature. I don't think that's a good argument. That's like saying koalas, humans, and gorillas have vestigial thumbs. That means that we came from koalas.
Well, no, that's not the argument. I'm not saying we came from them. I'm saying this specific mutation could only be explained if we inherited it from a common ancestor. I mean, look at it like,
Or but
um,
but the way you put that up is like it's either this way or it's that way. How come we couldn't have gotten it from a common designer?
Well,
why would, hold on, why would a designer do that? You're right, oxidize. Because we can't
So
synthesize. Because we
so
can't
because
oxidize.
so because the designer would do something you wouldn't do, that means there is no designer because the designer acts different than Isaiah.
Hold on, the designer needs to put it in.
So
He doesn't need
what
to
we're
put it
talking
in.
about, this is called the ERV argument, right?
No,
well,
I didn't mention it.
that's retroviruses, but that's different.
Yeah.
But let's say I grant a designer. How does that affect evolutionary theory? Let's say there is a designer that designed things. It doesn't change the observations we see. It doesn't change the evolutionary theory that describes those observations. So this way, claiming design doesn't tell us anything. That's a theological argument. That's all that is.
Well, that's kind of like the geocentricity argument versus the heliocentric argument because they actually both say, oh well, both can be true, and if that's the case, if both can be true, then the only way you can come to a conclusion is based off of your worldview. Either the
Right.
Earth revolves
Who
around the
told you both
sun.
can be true? There's
What you say?
no inertial frame of reference, and you can make any center an inertial frame of reference using mathematics. But if you look at the solar system, it's quite certain that the Earth goes around the sun because the sun is the higher center of mass. It's the paracenter.
Can I ask a
In
question?
physics, we have to go around the sun.
I'm
There's no other
sorry.
way to do it.
Hold on, I didn't get to finish the point I was making.
Right.
Well, hold on. We know mutations are inherited. For example, you have the LRP5V171 mutation. It's a mutation that causes some humans to have extremely high bone density. Essentially, their bones are unbreakable. It's a specific mutation in exon 3 of the LRP5 gene. There are thousands of individuals would have this mutation. Now, the logical conclusion would be that these individuals inherited it from a common ancestor, not that this happened multiple times individually or independently of each other.
Okay. Right. All right. Now let me ask you a question, Steve. You said who said both of them could be true, and let me ask you: are you opposed to the Earth being flat? Could the Earth be flat?
Oh no, I'm not talking about the Earth being flat. I'm just that is false. That is so false. It is if somebody believes the Earth is flat, there is no helping them.
I know. I know. I understand that. I just want to hear Steve's take on that. Steve, is that possible for that to be true?
Did he leave?
Right.
No, I'm
He
back.
said he
I'm
had
back.
All right, Steve.
What I missed?
Is
Sorry.
that is it possible for that to be true? Is that
I wasn't
impossible?
here, so can somebody fill me in?
Okay,
He
so
just
basically
that it's possible, but he
you
to be
said something about I forgot, but let me ask you: is it impossible for the Earth to be flat?
Physically, uh, with science, yeah, using physics is impossible because it wouldn't explain the Green's points. It wouldn't explain um, observation. There's no mathematical model or no physics model that could actually account for a flat
Right.
Earth based upon our observations.
Right.
So
So
I would say,
would you
according to
say
physics, it is
so
impossible.
based
well,
off our observation? So now would you say that's in reality? Like, is that the reality that you assumes to exist, or what are you basing that off of? I'm just curious.
Physics.
Physics? Okay, but
well,
I'm just asking.
I agree with Steve on that. For somebody to think that the Earth is flat, it's no helping them. But
Oh no, I agree. The
I
Earth
always
is
say if the Earth is flat, I think we're in 3D, right, Steve? You know, because I
Yeah,
know
well,
before people are like,
3D
oh yeah,
plus
we're in
time
4D.
evolution. Yes. Yeah,
But
sure.
how if the Earth is in 2D, how are we in 3D? We wouldn't be able to fit in it. That we would
Well,
fit
yeah.
in it.
there's
I
there's some
absolutely
pictures
agree.
that they show
I
how they can
agree.
do
I
that, but
agree. The
it
Earth
doesn't explain certain things.
I agree the Earth is not flat, but this is just what I'm asking Steve. Is that based off his reality that he assumes to exist? And we just had a conversation before this where he said, it's an assumption, meaning he cannot prove this is true.
Properly basic beliefs are assumptions.
Right,
They
right.
already
So that's
exist.
something that you can't prove, and when you
Correct.
say
By
because of
definition, a
physics,
properly basic belief
right,
is not
right, right. So you would have to assume your reality is true. What you're seeing is actually happening to say it violates anything. Would you agree
well,
with that?
Josiah, we're gonna discuss evolution and science. We're not gonna go into your
No,
basic
I'm not. I'm just asking you a question. Just answer it.
which I've
With
explained to
that,
you countless times. Properly basic beliefs, by definition, cannot be justified. That's why they're called
right.
assumptions.
So
So the basal
basically,
assumption we
you
make
really right.
is that
So
the
is that
universes exist.
right? So basically, what you're saying is, you can't possibly know the universe exists or reality to be
Josiah,
real,
go look up
right?
the word definition of the word assumption, okay? Because I've said it as this assumption
Right,
like
right.
30
Well,
times.
you gave me a definition. You said an assumption is something that cannot be proven. Okay, so now if you cannot prove your reality or what you're seeing is actually reality, if we're going to use that word, if you can't prove that, how are you at where do you come off as saying this is wrong? This
Because
violates any, according to who?
all
According to
frameworks,
who?
all frameworks, including physics and mathematics, have basal assumptions, and then we
Right.
go from those assumptions and we make proofs of them in mathematics. I can prove to you that the square root of -2 is irrational based upon the assumptions we make of math, Peano's axioms.
Right,
So
right,
if I have those,
you're
let me
not,
finish. If I
but
have those
that's
basal,
according to
that
what? According to your assumptions, something that you cannot prove.
that's
So
why
what
they're
you're
called
telling, and
assumptions.
something that you cannot know for to be 100% certain, according to something that you can't prove.
Josiah, take a course in mathematics and philosophy, and then come back to us because I'm not going to explain to you properly basic beliefs 5,000 times. I'm sure Wayne understands them. I'm sure Timothy understands
No,
them.
I understand and I agree with
Well,
for the most part, other than what you're saying.
Josiah,
If that makes sense.
I will have to say this. Somebody who's actually an old Earth creationist. I was because I look at the arguments of all creationists who have like I look at what's the guy Hugh Ross. He's an old Earth creationist, and then there's
Oh, he's
another guy who
wilding.
believes in. What you say?
He's crazy. Oh my gosh, that man is
Well,
ridiculous.
Hugh Ross is pretty smart. I just don't agree with him on the age thing, but everything else, he's pretty.
Yeah, no,
And
I read some of his things. Yeah, I agree with you
he
there.
might change my mind on the because I'm open to anything as long as somebody's willing to show me the evidence. Like I was on Steve's show last week, and they basically showed me the evidence that we don't share 70% of our DNA with monkeys. We share a lot more. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use the argument anymore because they showed me the evidence for it. So if somebody can show me
Right,
the
I
evidence,
agree. I think that would be honest not to do that. Right.
Well, and Josiah recognized that finally too. I think after he understood we were explaining to him about Tompkins' paper and why there was an error in the past data.
he kept Josiah
It took
kept
him a while.
quoting Hovind because Hovind said humans or chimps are only 91% identical.
I didn't
And
quote Hovind. That's what I know.
yes, Hovind said
I
that the
didn't
day.
quote, but how am I supposed to? Come on, stop! I was not quoting Hovind.
Anyway, what I was trying to say with the whole presuppositionalist thing is, basically there was a guy who was an old Earth creationist, and he was just saying, like, before you even pick up the Bible, we're using biblical principles so we can try and we're using biblical principles to try and interpret the Bible. But before you have your biblical principles, do you come to the Bible with your own principles, or do you come to the Bible with biblical principles you don't know about? So before somebody even has a biblical worldview, how does somebody get a biblical worldview but using their own worldview? At
Well, that's
some
actually a
point,
good question, actually, Wayne. That's why this.
I'm sorry.
problem is so
Restate part of that question for me.
before somebody has biblical principles, do they get their biblical principles from the Bible if they don't have any, or do they use their own biblical principles to find out if the biblical principles are true in the first place?
I think you use the Bible, right?
Well, Josiah, how do you get your exegesis and your hermeneutics when you read the Bible? What do you base it upon?
Well,
I think that we all have a subjective value to do that. I mean, everybody has their own little understanding of contextual things when they read the Bible.
right, I agree. Different
Yeah, I mean,
understandings
that's the whole
God
point of
reveals to
exegesis.
you.
So let me ask you this though. Be that the case, the first five books of Moses was actually part of the oral tradition of the rabbinical Jews. It was the part of the Talmud, which was supposed to be taken allegorically. It was never meant to be a literal explanation of the universe. It was just an allegory of how the
I
universe came to be.
disagree.
Well, this is,
No, it wasn't an allegory.
well,
Yeah,
according to the rabbinical Jews, it was allegorical. Now, the Christians have taken that and they have needed to be much more literal. But originally, part of the Talmud, that was an allegorical story. But that's
Yeah,
kind
but
of, it's probably going away
Oh,
from
the
the
oh the
Talmud isn't true teachings of the Jews. The Torah is. Talmud is
Well,
sacred
the Talmud it was the law.
oral law.
Yeah, it was the oral law.
The
Correct.
Torah is the first 5 books of the
Let me
Bible.
tell you guys about the
Right,
Talmud.
it
The
was oral.
Talmud is freaking
It was
disgusting.
oral, being passed down from generation to generation. Go ahead, Wayne.
But yeah, so basically, Josiah, before somebody has biblical principles, they have to use their own principles that might be faulty or logical to conclude that the biblical principles from the Bible are true. Now, I'm not saying that somebody who doesn't believe in the Bible can't be logical or they can't make logical arguments,
I
but
agree.
there are certain things that without the Bible, or at least without the God of the Bible, you can't make you can't make how can I even put this? But you can't make certain claims
Right.
like is something good or bad, and not even saying
I
you have
agree.
to believe in the God of the Bible, but you have to admit that there's some type of moral creator to make a moral judgment. Because if you don't have a moral
Right, but
creator,
we're not
then
getting into that right now. That would be another discussion.
right. But basically, what I'm saying is before you have biblical principles, you have to have your own set of principles so you can judge the biblical principles. And if your principles or if you get
Faulty.
all your principles, basically it'll determine whether or not if you think the Bible is right or right to begin with. Now somebody can try and change your principles that you already have using biblical principles, but before you open up the Bible, if you've never read it before, you're coming to the Bible with your own principles to begin with, which
Right,
could
and
be
by
wrong.
the way, having my friend join. He's also a Christian. He wanted to join the conversation. Is that okay with you guys?
Oh, sure, bring it on, yeah. But I mean, I agree on you on some things, and there's some things I don't agree on. Like some things that in Side 10's apologetics, it isn't really valid. Like
I know you cite. Continue.
well, like if somebody says or I know he uses the one, how do you know your 5 senses are valid or whatever, and then uh they'll say, well, my 5 senses are valid because I've been using them every day or whatever, and then he
That's
says, well,
dumb.
and then he says, well, uh, you don't know if your 5 senses are valid. And then they'll say, yeah, but you don't know if your 5 senses are valid either. And then he'll say, I do know my 5 senses are valid because it's been revealed to me by so and so. But the bad thing about that is somebody else could say, my five senses have been revealed that they work properly because it's
Well,
been
I
revealed.
think you're misunder. I don't think you're
Right. It's
understanding.
a
I don't
word.
think
It's
you're
a word game
understand.
argument.
I disagree, but I don't think you're understanding the argument. The argument isn't simply that you don't know anything and you can't know it. No, the argue and when first of all, when the atheist does say, "Oh, someone revealed it to me," they've actually have just left atheism to say, "This is how I know it to be true," because they'll admit that I can't know anything to be certain unless someone who knows everything allows me
Well,
to know
but
that.
I've explained to you that we can know certain things to be certain when we are working in specific frameworks.
Right, right. And like in one of the basic assumptions that the universe
Right.
exists.
It's correct, and that's why
I agree. I
if you
agree with that
equivocate
according
words,
to
then you basically are saying I have a pet rock that knows everything, and this pet rock is telling me that my properly basic beliefs are justified. It's just all you're doing is you're making an assertion that's saying if my pet rock can do this, therefore I can have actual knowledge. You're not demonstrating a deity by doing that. In fact, I find the precepts to do more harm towards theology and theists than any possible thing that I could ever do explaining why younger creationism is wrong, because precepts are ridiculous and they
I
get slammed every time they run these types of arguments. It makes them look very, very foolish. Because I'm not here to deconvert anybody ever. I mean, I'm happy if Wayne said, you know what, Steve, I'm going to become an old Earth creationist. I'd be like, hallelujah, praise Jesus, whatever. I'm fine with that. It's just that
hallelujah.
my channel is basically against young Earth creationism because the science exposes it to be absolutely impossible. And every piece of evidence that they try to bring to the table has been thoroughly refuted ad nauseum, and it's all anecdotal at best. It doesn't refute the overwhelming evidence of the age of the Earth, and that's what I kind of ping on.
Oh, Mike, you there?
His
Yeah.
name is Christian, by the way.
Oh, wait, Christian. We got Christian, Mike. All right, so we got Christian, Isaiah, Josiah, Mike.
I think it's
Uh,
Mick.
well, yeah, Mick, Mike. I call him Mick.
Oh.
Steve, Tim, and me. So the whole gang is here. Christian, what is your religion?
I don't have a religion.
Oh man, let's
Losing my religion. Sorry.
see stupid.
Okay, so if you don't, so are you an atheist?
No, that's foolish.
Ah, praise God.
So are you a deist?
Real serious there.
No, I have faith in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior of this entire world.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
But that's but that's
So not
that's a but that's a
non-denominational
religion.
Christian.
No, it's
Christianity is a
not.
religion.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It
No.
could be a non-denominational religion.
A religion is defined as belief in a supernatural deity or being. Christianity is a
Well,
religion.
Wayne, he has a personal relationship with Jesus.
That's a religion. I'm a Christian too, and being
Well,
a Christian
yeah,
is a
yeah.
religion.
The Bible.
Right, I
pretty much
wouldn't
says
disagree with people say Christianity isn't a real. Christianity is a religion, a true religion. It's a religion,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
more than about making lighting can at night and chanting it. No, it's a relationship with Christ also.
Okay, we're not,
Yeah.
this conversation was to talk about evolution. So
Right.
Yeah, don't
Thank
beat
you
up on
for
your brothers here, man.
refocusing it.
You got two evolutionists here. Beat up on us. That's what we're here for.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, the whole gene thing, I don't even really. I have to look more into it, but yeah, I don't really buy it. We may see.
That's what evolution is. It's genetic.
That does.
Population genetics.
well,
I don't know.
well, I
I
think
just
everybody here can agree that we all go through genetic changes. At least through one
I
generation.
disagree.
But well, we do have genetic changes. I
I
have.
disagree.
You're going to have genetic changes
Nah,
when
I'm
you get older.
trolling.
You're going to be bald when you get older. That's a genetic change.
well, just remember, well, an individual doesn't evolve. Population evolves. A single individual cannot evolve.
What does that mean? Can you explain that to me, Steve? I'm actually not joking around. What does that mean? An
Sure.
individual?
Because a single organism has what's called a genome. A population has a gene pool. When we talk about evolution, it's a function of population genetics. So it's how a population of a species, how its gene pool changes over time. It has nothing to do with your individual genome when it comes to
Wait, I have a question.
your
Who
genome
here's?
changes over time, though.
Hold on, let him speak, or I'm going to mute you.
Oh, okay.
I'm done, but I just want to say that an individual genome can change, and you also can have what's called epigenetic factors that can change how genes are expressed. Do you know what that means, JoJo?
Yeah.
Do you know what expression of
I'm
genes?
following.
Well, I mean, I need to know if you know what an expression of a gene is. Basically, it means the gene is intact, the DNA is intact, but how it's being expressed, how it changes your eye color, your hair color, based on your Hox genes, how your Hox genes are expressed. It puts where your brain cells are differentiated from your heart cells, from your muscle cells. These are all differentiations from cells. That's a genetic thing that on a single organism level, but that's not evolution. When we talk about evolution.
But yeah, hold on. I'll just get a misconception out of the way. Well, someone said they don't buy the gene argument. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't buy it or believe it. You could believe, for example, this may be controversial. You could believe OJ didn't kill Nicole. That doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Yeah, but
He
you can
did
believe
it.
monkeys became people. That didn't happen.
Hallelujah!
Well, evolution is
Yeah.
Can you point me in any textbook?
The eye goggles are on.
Hey, Jojo, stop.
Sorry, that was deep.
Jesus, man. Hold on.
You just said
Well, I mean,
Jesus think
actually,
you're an atheist?
If we're going to talk about evolution theory, we have to talk about what the theory actually states. And the theory does not state that humans evolved from monkeys. Nowhere is that stated. It's not possible. We are monkeys because we're part of that. But we came from a common ancestor, which is a primate. There's a distinction there. Do you understand the distinction there?
Do you think dinosaurs are birds?
Well,
I
that's
believe
Isaiah's
birds are
territory.
giant. Yeah, that's my. Birds would be dinosaurs, not
Then why did another evolutionist say
Are
that's
they
not
birds?
be possible?
Hey, can I talk real quick?
No, because Alan Fiducia is wrong. His arguments have been thoroughly thrashed. He's just someone who doesn't know what to do.
If his conclusions
Thoroughly
don't line up
thrashed.
with yours, you say he's wrong.
Okay,
No.
I,
He says dinosaurs evolved from a separate line of archosaurs. I'm going into specifics, saying that archosaur was dinosaurs.
Which was still millions and millions of years ago. So I mean, it still refutes any type of creationism, and it's still an evolutionary theory. It's just where the clade actually would be.
who here? Who here is
We have
atheist?
soft dinosaur tissue getting brought up. They were here recently.
Well, I actually, do you guys think
Hold on.
Charles Darwin is a valid source or no?
Valid.
He got
Darwin?
some things wrong.
Yeah, he formulated the underlying theory of natural selection and adaptive radiation, but he got a lot of stuff wrong. He didn't know about genetics. So Darwinism is 150 years out of date.
Actually,
But that's what they teach kids in school.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so,
Darwinism.
so I agree.
Modern evolutionary synthesis.
Because Darwin said man is descended from a hairy-tailed quadruped, probably arebial in his habits, meaning we evolved from four-legged monkeys.
Hold on.
Read it what it says.
Real quick, who here is atheist and who here is something else? Like, can I get a general thing since I missed it?
I would define myself as an agnostic atheist.
Oh, great contradiction.
How the hell is that a contradiction?
Well, no,
Yeah, I don't know.
that would not be.
Josiah's not really good at this logical stuff. It's not a contradiction.
No, I am. That's like a verbal contradiction. At surface, that appears to be a contradiction, but I know what it means.
I've done some videos on that, and that actually isn't a contradiction. No, if he said I'm a Gnostic atheist, well then you'll have a problem because he's not on no one. But he's saying that he's not on no one, and he doesn't know if there's a God or not.
Are there two atheists? Are there three?
Well, I'm an atheist, but real quick, you could actually be a Gnostic atheist, but it would be kind of weird, but you could be done. It's not really a contradiction. It's basically saying that that you know that no deities or gods or supernatural exist. It'd be a really hard position to take to be a Gnostic atheist, I think, though. It's not a contradiction, though, but I think it'd be a very hard position to justify.
Okay, so
Yeah.
with you guys believing in evolution, are you guys just completely strictly naturalists?
Well, I would prefer to use the word accept, because if you say believe, again, we know evolution theory exists.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at it ontologically speaking, to say that do you believe in evolution, that means do you believe that evolution actually exists? Well, we know evolution exists. We know evolutionary theory exists. They both
Well,
exist.
what you should be an evolutionist.
What do you mean?
Like you guys take the theory at heart.
Yes, well, yeah, but do you use the term gravitationalist? It's the
No.
same thing. There's more evidence for evolutionary theory than there is the theory of gravity, actually. There's more documentation, much more research study than there is with evolution than gravity. It'd be much easier to falsify general theory of relativity than it would be the theory of evolution.
Well, I think did he make this the theory of special relativity, and then he made general. Which one came first? Because
Correct.
whichever one,
Special.
yeah, whichever one he made first, he retracted it, and then now I know the guys who believe in geocentricity are trying to use that argument to try and say that the Earth isn't revolving around the sun and the Earth stays still.
Right, I
I
know.
had
They,
this.
they,
What you
I
say?
think he retracted something else. He retracted that the universe was static.
yeah,
Isn't
well,
that
they go
what
back. They go back to the ether, which was like a medium that light would promulgate through from the Michelson-Morley experiment back in the day when a guy named Lorentz formulated his luminescence theory, which didn't pan out because special relativity basically described the observation better than any ether model could ever do. So that's why we use special theory relativity. But off topic.
But with
Completely
you
off
guys,
topic.
how can I even say this? Because no matter what I say, like no, no, no. But what if you guys taking evolution theory for what it says?
Right.
What
What's your
does it say?
definition of it also?
What is the
Well, no,
definition of evolution?
they already defined that like what, like 3 minutes. But they don't need
Right,
3 minutes.
because I understand what you're saying. Every time you say something like, "Oh, this is not a part of evolution," the
Well, no,
evolution doesn't state this, that.
they did
Well, we
define
have to
what
be precise on that, don't we not?
Yeah,
you guys.
definitely.
You guys did a pretty good job of defining what you meant by evolution.
That's what it's actually defined by.
Right.
I
So
mean, there's
we,
different ways of stating it, obviously, but that's a basic basal way of stating it. That's pretty inclusive, I think.
and I forgot what I was about to say, but I guess I'm going to give the mic over to I don't know Christian because you didn't talk. Christian, what's your standpoint on your? Are you an evolutionist? Are you an older creationist, younger creationist? Are you a flat earther? Are you a geocentricist?
I am actually completely ignorant on everything they teach in school, and regarding science, and I wish to stay that way because I don't care.
Well,
So
hang out with Isaiah. He'll educate you.
so this conversation isn't for you. Okay. Hello. Okay, just gonna mute this guy for a minute. Or yeah, he's ejected. I don't know what's up with that guy. Everybody still there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, gotcha. Don't know what's up with that guy. Who brought him in?
Jojo.
Jojo.
Jojo, don't bring him in again. This guy says he doesn't have a religion. Is that a religion that he doesn't have a religion?
I would call.
Yeah,
I would
because
call
you know
that
what?
religion.
I wouldn't. The problem with most Christians are they don't want to fall into this thing of just a regular religion or just so they like to sound really ridiculous and say I don't have a
Well, no,
religion.
I think
But
what it is
that's
trying
really what he meant. He
to
just meant that he has a relationship with Jesus Christ.
I understand, but that's wrong. Christianity is a religion. There's
I
nothing wrong.
understand that, but people don't like to say that because it gives people to say, "Well, where's my religion?" They're like, "No, this is my lifestyle." It's like people say, like, eating vegan isn't a diet; it's a lifestyle, or eat, So it's something like that.
But being a vegan would be a lifestyle. It wouldn't be a religion because Webster's dictionary defines a religion as a belief in a higher or supernatural power
Correct.
or deity or being.
Which is why atheism cannot be a religion by definition.
Oh, I just think evolution is a religion, but
Why?
they just they recently have just changed the definition of religion.
Josiah,
Okay.
give me an
No,
example.
because religion used to be defined
Well,
as
wait.
something that has.
Before you go around tossing around, they did this. How about nobody tossing around anything they can't prove with an external source outside themselves? Because we
There you
just
go. I'm fine with that because I don't like the word salad. Josiah, you've said evolution could be a religion. Can you give me a criteria of any recognized means of any site of what a religion would be and how evolution would fall into that category from any kind of
Right. I'm actually going to look up the definition on one of the sites I used to look up on, and because the definition of religion has changed, religion had what used to be as something,
Well, it actually used to be. It used to be synonymous with the word
something that
cult.
got basically that got
Cult,
into
cult meant form
the origin,
worship.
why of how all things began.
Say that one more time.
It used to be defined as, a way of how all things began or the origin of life. That's what was
I
used
think
to
that would
the
follow the
word religion.
philosophy of contemplating where life came from, and or um, existential type subjects rather than religion, or what you're trying to say for the origin of life. Um,
Well, somebody can account for the origin of life and not be religious. However, their account for the origin of life would have to be completely natural. Because if it's supernatural, if they believe life came about supernaturally, that's religious.
yeah, this if you invoke special creation, that to me would involve religion. Correct. I
Which
mean, you
isn't
can't
which
say
isn't anything wrong with them in my worldview because I'm a Christian. The Bible says that faith is the evidence of things that can't be seen, which I can. We can't go back and look at what God did, either if God did it millions years ago or 6,000 years ago. No matter how many years ago God did it, we can't
Wait,
observe
I
it.
gotta talk to you about that.
Well, Wayne, do you accept that in science, though, we have to maintain the philosophical understanding and parameters of methodological naturalism for a reason? That we just can't assume or come up with a supernatural causation as an explanation? Because we would have never gotten anywhere in science if that's what we can assume. We have to always assume in science there is a natural explanation. Whether there is one or not, that's philosophy. But for
Yeah,
science
that's also very dogmatic.
And by the way, the Bible talks about certainty, Wayne. I just want to just throw that.
Well, no, I'm saying we can. There are some things we can be certain about, but other things we just have to take by faith, which isn't anything wrong with that. You accepted Jesus Christ off of faith. Nothing wrong with that.
Other than knowing that he existed and that he was God in the flesh, yeah, I accepted him.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't completely. I mean, you have to go off of faith when you believe in Jesus Christ. You believe that Jesus is the Son of God. You gotta go off of faith for that. We weren't there to see Jesus' miracles.
I
We weren't,
don't actually have to read my
Josiah,
Bible and see
JoJo
what
would
the
argue
Bible
that
says, but
he has
whatever,
acknowledged
I'm
what he
not
else
getting into this.
has because I agree with you.
No,
Those beliefs are faith based, and I have no issue with faith based
no,
belief.
no, I don't go based off it. I read my Bible. The Bible says this, so I say I know it now.
what I can't agree with you on, Joe, is that we believe the Bible because the history of the Bible is true, and if the history of the Bible is true, we can believe the gospel because the
That's
gospel is
not
true.
why I believe it because it's the word of God. But
That's not a good
that's what you
argument,
said is
though.
true
You
also.
can't just say I
I'm
believe
not
it
trying to argue. I don't need to argue with anybody. I'm just saying it's the word of God. Now we can get into the history being true. We can get into all of that. But you know that's all I'm saying.
I think Wayne is saying though you have to have a faith that the Bible is true, whether either all encompassing it true or parts of it's true. You have to have some kind of faith that parts of the Bible are true, right? I mean, you can't
Well,
just
yeah,
believe the Bible and
the
not have.
parts that we can't observe, you take that off of faith. But the reason why you do believe the things that we can observe is because we believe that we observe the things that we can observe. If that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Right. Wait. Let me ask you. Did you block Christian? It's like is he not allowed to join?
No, I just
Jack.
I ejected him, so I guess I blocked him. But he wasn't really bringing anything edifying to the conversation, except for I'm not
Oh,
religious.
praise God! Hallelujah!
But with that, Mike, Mick, you didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Hold on, let me turn your volume up. Is your volume up? Say something.
Yeah, I'm just listening to you guys. I don't really have anything to really add with.
Just sitting there looking lost. It's all right. It's cool. So evolution, basically going back to evolution. We were talking about Charles Darwin, and you guys say, Charles. Most of the things that Charles Darwin's taught, uh, is falsified. You guys, have proven that it's false and
Well,
stuff like that.
what do you mean most? Like
Well,
some things were, but yeah, the basics
you
right.
guys said it. I don't know if you guys said it.
No, we said he got a lot right and he got some things wrong. He didn't understand genetics because we didn't have genetics. He used what's called pangenesis for his understanding of how things are transmitted in heredity. Goes from one generation to the next generation.
Mhm.
But he understood the basic principles. I mean, he got natural selection, he got adaptation. He didn't know gene flow or genetic drift, but he understood what was going on. He just know the exact causes of it. That make more sense?
It kind of made. I can't see where you're going, but My whole thing, why I do not accept would you call it Darwinian evolution, macroevolution, or just I don't accept evolution as fact at all. It's a philosophy, but it's not a fact. And one of the reasons.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm near the TV.
Oh,
Where are we going?
yeah. And the reason why I do say it's not a fact is because just because we have the same parts, it doesn't mean common descent. It means common designer. We're looking at the same stuff, and I'm telling you, it doesn't mean common descent. It doesn't mean your granddad is a monkey or a chimp.
Hold
Again,
on.
though, if you look at the science, though, if you again going back to my thing with you and your cousins, your grandparents, you admit that you and your cousin have a direct ancestry to one of your grandparents, correct?
Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of like a loaded question. Here's the reason for that. Because science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. If you ask one scientist that's a creationist about this, they'll say one thing. You ask one scientist that's a Hindu, they'll say this,
Well,
and they'll say that.
according to science, according to genetics, your genome and your cousin's genome, which would indicate if you looked at both of them and you compare them to a grandfather, you could tell that you have a relationship to them. You are descended from them, correct?
Right. I would agree.
Okay, that's the type of genetics that were used for all other types of phylogeny. It's no different. It really is no different whatsoever. And you're basically saying, well, I'm related to my cousin because of design. Well, that doesn't really indicate why you have the same genomes as your grandparents, and that we can show that you have a direct lineage to them. So design doesn't tell us anything. That's called a teleological argument. It's basically saying, okay, well, there's a lot of similarities, therefore God. Okay, what does that tell us about evolutionary theory, though? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't show the fact that we can show that species have speciated, that we have populations of species that are no longer reproductively viable with each other and to their ancestry. This happens. They are a new species. We see this happening. That is what evolution theory predicts. So it's predictive modeling.
Why would evolution theory have anything to do with a creator?
Well, it wouldn't require one, but if one existed, it wouldn't discount the possibility. If God existed, it's not going to refute evolution.
If God existed, then nothing you really say matters in the first place.
Well,
we
why would
have,
not?
we have no
It doesn't
evidence
change
for
facts.
a completely new creature. A tiger is still a cat.
Well, what do you mean by
dog is still
a
a
new
wolf.
creature? Yes, because they remain correct. They retain their lines of phylogeny. So a dog will always produce a population of dogs. A wolf will always produce a population of wolves. That's why all dogs are wolves.
And a chimp will always produce a population of humans. That's what evolution
No.
means.
No, it's not possible.
No. Hold on.
You're never going to find a
this gets into.
That's called a straw man, and you're better than that.
Yeah, this gets into cladistics. When you have something, it's called a clade. No organism will ever leave its ancestral clade. So if you have a population of monkeys, a million years from now, it's going to be a population of monkeys that evolved from that population. Because you have what's called Mayer's law of monophyly. You're not going to leave your ancestral clade.
As a monophyletic clade.
Yeah, there can be clades within that clade, but you will not leave the ancestral clade.
So that makes sense, Wayne. In other words, once you're in a clade, and you're talking a monophyletic clade, meaning that all common ancestry stays in that clade, you can never leave that clade. Monkeys will always have monkeys. Apes will always have apes. Dogs will always have dogs. It never changes. And evolution theory doesn't state otherwise.
So based off of evolution, is there higher races and lower races depending on which race evolved the furthest?
No.
No, I don't know what you mean by that.
Are
There's
there higher
no.
races and lower races?
Well, I mean, we're higher organisms than like bacteria.
Right, but are there other races that evolved or that surpassed the evolution of other races?
What do you mean by? Do you mean breeds? Because races generally, when you're talking about races and evolution, it generally means breeds, like Darwin's, or on Origin of Species. When he talks about races, he's talking about breeds, like cows, chickens, and pigeons, and cabbage, and that kind of stuff. Is that what you're referring to? Or human races?
Kind of, sort of, but you know, in like Hiroshima and stuff like that, in World War II, the Japanese wanted to kill all the white people because the Japanese.
Are you talking about human races? No, there's
Right.
There's nothing in evolution that talks about human races. Absolutely nothing. There's zero.
So the guys who murdered and did all that stuff in
Other
the name
than
of evolution
they
are
share
wrong.
a common ancestor.
All right, cool.
That would be the only thing.
They eugenics is a man-made concept based upon a person's own personal belief system. And matter of fact, Hitler didn't accept evolution. He hated Darwin's books. He didn't accept any of his theories. But I mean, yeah, when you talk about races, like on Origin of Species, it says favored races, but what that means is favored breeds. It doesn't even mention human races in the entire book. All the races they're talking about are, like I said, are cabbages, if I remember, pigeons, cows, etc. I mean, they're basically domesticated wildlife. That's what the book is about. So it has nothing to do with human races. You're never going to find human races in the book or on Origin of Species. The only place he even mentions it, he mentions a little blurb in Descent of Man.
Yeah, I got a quote with that. He says, with savages, hold on, I'm going to read this.
Right. That's Descent of Man. And he's talking about cultures. He's talking about various cultures. That the more educated cultures are going to tend to survive over the uncivilized, more barbaric.
Right. He said, with savages, the weak in body or mind are soon eliminated, and those that survive commonly exhibit a vigorous state of health. We civilized men, on the other hand, do our utmost to check the process of elimination, and we build asylums for the imbecile, the maimed, and the sick. And he goes on to say this, that, and the third. So basically, what I got out of that, even if people say, this is racist, what I got out of that was basically Charles Darwin was against people who were handicapped.
No, he's talking about culture, about civilized culture, and how what he considered to be civilized versus more of a barbaric type culture.
Well, how do you get civilization from evolution? How can evolution teach you about morals? It doesn't.
Well, evolution doesn't.
We really need it to.
Yeah, evolution is about biodiversity. Evolution is genetics.
So
it models genetics.
The Descent of Man was a philosophy.
But what does that got to do with evolutionary theory? Evolutionary theory models biodiversity. It explains why we have the amount of species we have today. It doesn't get into morality. Now, can you make an argument for morality based upon evolutionary concepts? Yeah, Neil Harris tries to do that, and a few other people. But that's a whole different topic. I mean, that doesn't really have anything to do with the actual science of evolutionary theory.
You're separating philosophy from the science of evolution.
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously there's a philosophy based in the science. I mean, as soon as we say methodological naturalism, we're invoking philosophy. But as far as morals, we can trace it back to what actually does that mean? What does it mean for a species to be moral? What does it mean to have an evolutionary advantage over a species that eats its young? So you could probably find some thing in evolution of why we have morals, of course, but it's not neither here nor there that really affects evolutionary theory. It still explains biodiversity.
You done, Mike? Or Mick? Whichever one you want to be called.
Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, basically, I mean, it's been the same runaround argument with the evolutionists and the creationists. The creationists will bring out their evidence, and then the evolutionists will bring out their evidence. But from what I'm basically saying, number one is the evolutionists will always say, well, this is what science says, and if you don't believe in evolution, then you disregard this part of science, which isn't true, because evolution isn't science.
I think Wayne, the better thing is, can you give a better model? Can you give a better model that explains biodiversity and that makes predictive abilities other than evolution?
Well, natural selection, but natural selection isn't a part of evolution. Natural selection is a part of creation.
Well,
it's kind of required.
Yeah, you kind of have to have natural selection for it's a required process for evolutionary theory.
But it's also a required process for creationism as well.
Oh, I agree, and so is speciation.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but you don't need evolution for speciation. You need natural selection.
Speciation.
No, you have to have evolution. Evolution. Remember what we defined evolution to be? A change of allelic frequency. So for a species to species.
We disagree on how far the changes will go.
Well,
exactly,
that's true, but I mean, there's no hard cap on it. I mean, what do you mean by disagree how far they can go? Mutations add up, and these species will speciate, and they can speciate over and over and over again. We've seen things speciate thousands of times. Bacteria will do that.
But it still stays its kind.
Well, it's supposed to. Again, that's a law of monophylia.
So then we're talking about microevolution, but then still nothing for macro.
No, speciation. No, hang on. I'll let you talk in a second. Let me correct this real quick. you have to understand that speciation is by definition macroevolution. Okay, speciation is actually dealing with multiple populations, and by definition, that is macroevolution. Microevolution means you're dealing with one population of species. You're dealing with natural selection, adaptation, gene flow, and genetic drift in one species. As soon as you speciate, you have two species. You're no longer in microevolution anymore. You're in macroevolution. They are the same exact thing, it's just on multiple species levels. They're exact. You cannot have one with the other. But as far as staying your own kind, yes, a bacteria will always remain a bacteria. You only have 3 domains in the 3-domain system. And one of the domains is bacteria. Bacteria will never become eukaryotic, just like a eukaryote will never become a bacteria. They stay in that domain forever and always. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Hmm.
When creationists use the word kind, what is that? We can look at organisms who seem to be what creationists would say
If the
transitional,
animal
like
can
they're
bring forth its
in
kind.
between. Well, I've asked you about this multiple times. Would that be species?
Well, a kind. Well, actually, the word kind comes from the Hebrew word, and it says what's the word? Bara. Tim, you know what I'm talking about Baramin or something like that.
Yeah.
Baramin.
Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah.
if you look at the Greek Septuagint, Wayne, look at the Latin word. The Latin word yagos. I can't pronounce the actual word, but look at the Latin word for what it uses in the Greek Septuagint version. It doesn't say kind. It means family or descendant.
Right, and that's what I believe the kind is, but the family.
Right. So we had the feline family, we have the canine family, we have the what do you guys call
Ape
it? The
family, the great ape family.
Well,
yeah.
actually,
So
it literally means genus, but I don't remember the word in Greek, and I don't speak Greek. But
no,
Stay
nobody be writing the
stupid,
Greek here.
see.
No. But
it literally
as far as
means
the
genus.
changes go, like what I'm saying is the humankind or the human family or whatever you want to call it, humans have always been humans. We've never been apes. We've never been monkeys. We've always been humans.
Correct. That's what evolutionists teach. You cannot. If you were always humans, you were always humans. You were never anything but humans, because as soon as humans were speciated, and you
But
had
you-
hominins, they
so
were
you're saying
always
we were a
humans.
different species of human. I I can kind of
Well,
agree
no,
with you on.
I would even say that. It's a when you have a divergent process, it's basically saying you have a species that goes on and is extant, but out of that branches another species. So, in other words, let's say Homo neanderthalis was alive today. Okay,
Uh-huh.
it completely would be possible. We did not evolve from Neanderthals. We split from them. So you could still have Neanderthals with us living side by side in theory, but we didn't evolve from Neanderthals.
So
Make
then
sense?
Adam and Eve is definitely believable.
Well,
Not really.
the problem with
Yeah,
Adam and Eve is just the biodiversity wouldn't be there. You couldn't account for 7 billion people with biodiversity from 2 people. It would not be viable. That's
Why
the
not?
issue. Because you have what's called I mean you ever have two brothers and or ever have a brother and sister reproduce? They have children that have what's called loss of heterozygosity. And if you have loss of heterozygosity, you have lack of biodiversity, and basically you don't have enough genetic diversity to be a sustained population. You'll eventually die out.
But back then the genetic code was pure, not like it is now. So you're going off of today's evidence, but back then it could have been completely different.
Well, first of all, what would be a pure genome?
Is it possible for a human to
That's
have
why, the HapMap project, 0.1% difference in our DNA to 5, that's very low.
Oh, of course.
What is a perfect genome? I mean, that's a nonsensical. That's a non sequitur. You can't say
Well,
what a
wait.
perfect genome would be.
Because we had bad genomes, we can assume our genomes used to be perfect because they used to be bad. The shadows
No.
prove the sunshine.
That's not how genetics works. There's no such thing as a bad. There's no such thing as a good or bad genome. It's a viable genome. Humans are humans. We all have mass diversity, but one of our genomes is no more perfect than another genome. It's a non sequitur to say there's a perfect genome unless you start getting into like maybe like Plato's what do they call the archetypes of things in Platonic forms. Other than that, there's no such thing as a pure genome. And the second thing is, even if there was, it wouldn't matter. You still have a loss of heterozygosity. That I showed. Me and Isaiah showed.
But you don't know
that the other day.
how long have they been doing testing on the genome?
Well, we've only known about the genome for what, 70 years?
Okay, so we got 4,000 to 5,000 years of no data.
Well,
from a
hold on.
perfect, from a perfect two hosts.
We can compare human genome to something that actually has low genetic diversity
Yes.
due to a bottleneck such as cheetahs. We can look
And
at what happened to cheetahs and see, okay, this is what would happen to a sexually reproducing species if a bottleneck were to happen.
And they're being bottlenecked right now because of the same thing. And even still, would it matter? You know what a Punnett square is, Timothy? Ever heard of that for Mendelian genetics? Okay.
No, I think I
What a Punnett square is basically a way of showing what your offspring is going to have for as far as a dominant and recessive gene. There's no other way these combinations can occur. So if you have two dominant genes and your partner has a dominant recessive, well, actually, let's say dominant recessive. There's a 25% chance that your child is going to have two recessive genes. That's just mathematics. It's based upon these Punnett squares. Nothing's going to change that. It doesn't matter how pure your genome is, quote unquote. It's the fact is that you don't have enough genetic diversity to have a dominant gene, and you have the loss of heterozygosity, and you're going to have genes that are not going to be able to produce proteins anymore. They're going to lose functionality. You're going to die out as a species.
Yeah, but I still don't buy it, considering the fact that it's only been 70 years of evidence compared to what it was way back then. Considering God, an omnipotent God, who can make a perfect gene and pass it down no matter what.
A better way to put it is not only do I not buy it, but it's not true. Just because. See,
Yeah.
Here's a
Wait, Punnett squares are true, Wayne? Mendelian genetics true? Really?
Well, just
Can you
because
explain to me how? Give me if you have a dominant recessive, tell me how your chances are not 25% to have a recessive child. How is that not possible? Doing the mathematics.
Well, that has nothing to do with a child turning out as a baby cat or a baby monkey. Basically, what you guys are the whole crux of the matter of believing in evolution is either we're animals or we're not animals. We never were animals. You even said we weren't animals. We were always humans, but
No, we are in the animal kingdom. We're not plants, Wayne.
I know we're not plants, but we're not monkeys.
Animals. We're not plants. We are in the animal kingdom. Okay, I don't know why that has anything to do with.
Define what an animal is. An animal would be a multicellular eukaryote, a heterotroph.
Based off
without chlorophyll,
As a beast. We're not beasts. We're men.
Well, that doesn't matter. But that's not what it means to be an animal. It means that we don't have photosynthesis, basically. How about we boil it down to that? We don't have chlorophyll. We don't have chloroplast. We have what's called ATP production in what's called the Krebs cycle. Okay, we are eukaryotic creatures. That's what it means when we say animal. What you're ever reading into it, it has nothing to do with the biological taxonomy of it. Can you admit that we don't have photosynthesis? That we get our energy from the Krebs cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle? That's because we are animals. So when we say we're animals, those are the things that animals have in common. That's it. There's nothing.
But based off that, you're assuming that people are animals.
No, it's not assuming. We put them in that taxon because they meet the criteria for what we describe to be an animal. Just like what we take for a plant. If you take a flower, that's a plant because it matches the criteria for what a plant would be. It falls in that those taxonomic lines. It's based upon phylogeny. Have you ever seen a phylogenetic tree, Wayne?
Well, I've seen the creation orchard. I haven't seen the genetic tree.
Okay, well, maybe Isaiah can show you a domain tree and a phylogenetic tree to maybe kind of you can get where we're coming from here, what we're talking about.
Okay,
I do have to go for a second while you're doing that.
I'll look at it real quick.
Yeah, let's let Isaiah talk. I've hogged the mic enough.
Hold on. Am I coming? Can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, we hear you. Yep. Well, I hear you.
Yeah. As I was saying, if we are animals, animals doesn't imply beast. Sponges are animals. Would you consider sponges to be beast?
What do you mean? Like a sponge, as in sponge we use to mop the floor, or sponge as in the sea?
In the sea. Those are animals.
Well, yeah, those. Well, yeah. If it's an animal, it's a beast, but it wouldn't be a beast of the field. It would probably be like what a beast of the sea or something like that.
Yeah, God separated them out.
It's a beast.
The creeping things, all that.
Yeah, a creeping thing.
Sponge doesn't creep. It doesn't move at all. Well, in its adult stages.
It's a beast. It's an animal.
It doesn't change the
It's-
fact that you're being led by a bias. That's the only reason you're saying we're animals.
I'm
It's
not,
a
I'm
Based
not
on what
biased
I've
at all.
interpreted off this
This
whole
is not-
conversation
I'm not being
is
biased.
that
I'm
we're
just
not
saying.
animals, but by the definition you read, you believe we are.
Well, not only is there a bias, but it's a science to the guess. Because we share
Yeah.
common parts with this part, therefore we're
Yeah.
animals because we share the same parts. Me and my sister have the same eyes and the same nose, but we're not the same person.
Wayne,
Sure,
it's,
we have.
it's a lot more complicated.
No, but you're the
Bill.
same species.
You're the same species. You're biologically not
We're the same species, but for somebody to say that we came from monkeys and because we should.
We just said we don't think that. You didn't come from monkeys. Evolution doesn't teach that.
Well-
We pointed that out a few times. That's a gross mischaracterization of what evolutionary theory states. Because that's,
So you
that's
guys
not.
would say we split from monkeys.
Yes.
Okay, we
We're
split.
all Haparini.
We're still monkeys.
But I have to go real quick. I have to go because I told you I only had about an hour.
All right, gotcha.
Well, I got about another 10 minutes maybe, but if I leave abruptly, then you know I have to take off, okay? So
All right, cool.
I love this discussion. This is great, but I did tell you I only had about an hour and 15 minutes. But I did put on the right there. Can you see in the chat, I put a little Prouet-type square outcome based upon a dominant gene and a recessive gene. The big B would be the dominant. The little b would be recessive.
Gotcha, I'm
And
looking at it.
if you do the possible outcomes for a child, they could have two dominant, a dominant recessive, or two recessives. So you have a 25% chance of having two recessive genes. That's fixed. It doesn't matter what your genome is. And if you have that, you have what's called a loss of heterozygosity, meaning that you do not have the ability to have that dominant gene anymore. That gene has disappeared from the population. The opposite would be called fixation, where a gene is fixed in the population. Has nothing to do with the fact that the quote-unquote perfect genome or not. It's basically Mendelian genetics. There's no way to get around that. It's mathematics.
Well, there is a way to get around it. It's only been 70 years with the data.
Well, if you can refute that, yeah, give me an outcome that doesn't match one of those four.
Even in the
One-
70s.
we're haploids.
We'll do some
We
research
can-
tonight.
Yeah, well, please do. I mean, you do your research, Wayne, and I love that about you. I respect you immensely for that. I really sincerely think you're one of the most interesting people to talk to because you do listen. I just find it refreshing.
Thank you. Well, I love the truth, and you know what? I'll do some research tonight, and if we come to the conclusion that evolution is true, I will become an evolutionist.
Well, say evolutionary theory. Again, I have to harp on this. Evolution itself is what we define it to be. We know that exists. Evolutionary theory explains evolution and biodiversity. Now the question is, does the model accurately explain observation? That's what you need to do the research on. But I will bid you guys adieu. Timothy, please add me. I'd like to talk to you again too. Mick didn't get much chance to conversate with you, but I'm sure I will. Isaiah, my brother from another mother, love you to death too. And I will see you later on. Okay, man?
All right.
All right.
Have a
Okay,
good one.
thank you guys. Bye.
So basically, I mean, where do I begin? Oh man.
He didn't.
Not only.
Actually, one of the questions I had that we couldn't really get out is, where are the origins of what does evolution state the origins are then for humans? That is,
Isaiah.
split off from monkeys, as he had stated. Then what are the origins of humans then? This is all in theory. This is not definitive at all. I'm curious. What do they think?
From the origin of humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, humans are, we share a common ancestor with apes, but that common ancestor would have also been an ape.
Well, which came first, apes or humans?
Apes.
You sure about that?
It's kind of nonsensical, because humans are apes. It's like asking what came
Listen
first.
to what you
No,
just
they're
said.
not.
Dogs are canon, but
Now it's
That's your
becoming
eye goggles talking. That's your faith talking.
we
that's the fact.
we
It's
split
not a
off.
fact. It's
Wait,
not
when we-
a fact.
let him talk. Let him talk.
Okay, okay.
An ape is defined as an RNA, DNA, protein-based organism, a multicellular organism with 5 fingers, a clavicle, prehensile arms, prehensile thumbs.
So it's because some guy wrote down a definition. You believe it. Like, Oh.
Well, here's
I'm looking
the
at
problem with
biology.
that. It's not like an ape defined what an ape was. A human who thought he was an ape defined what an ape was.
Yeah.
No, that was Linnaeus's biggest problem. He couldn't uh, separate humans and well apes. He couldn't separate them. That was his biggest problem. And for that, he came into conflict with the church, even though he was a creationist.
I still don't understand the origins of it, though. It doesn't make sense. So if we broke off from the apes or monkeys or whatever the term is, I don't know, then
Yeah.
it's more like a blanket statement. It doesn't make any sense. We
It
broke
doesn't
off.
make any sense.
We broke off from the apes, but that doesn't tell us exactly where we came from. It's just like, oh, well, it's like putting a tarp over a pool. You know there's a pool underneath, but the tarp is covering it, and we need to take it off. What's under the tarp? A pool. But how do we know what a pool looks like?
So are you asking what was that common ancestor?
I'm not really sure.
Tell you what that common ancestor was, another human. But you're saying it wasn't. You're saying that
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the common ancestor is.
I'm going to agree. The common ancestor of all humans was going to be a human, just like the common ancestor of all.
when it comes to evolution, see, that's a bait and switch. You're saying the ancestor of all humans are humans, but then at the same time, well, not only are the common ancestors of all humans, but we split from being. It's wordplay.
Yeah, that's
It
exactly.
is. This.
That,
No, it's
Sorry,
I'm trying to explain it.
It's like we're mixing pools here. Like, okay, we're apes, but then we're not apes, but then we're humans. We're not humans. I don't get it. I really am.
We're apes only when
Yeah.
it's time to masturbate.
There's a lot of backslide.
No one is saying. Well, I'm not saying we're not apes. Humans are a subset of apes, just
Okay.
like ducks are a subset of birds.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I would never say ducks are not birds, for the same reason I wouldn't say humans aren't apes. We fit the biological definition. It's just what we are.
But
Here's a-
remember, those are the biological definitions that people who had the presupposition that evolution is true came up with.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, not really. For example, humans were originally classified as primates, because apes is a relatively new classification.
Humans
were
were originally classified as not Baramin. I think it's just Man or Bara or something like that created, because there are no different kinds of humans. There's only one human kind of human.
Say the original classification, the taxonomic classification, when Linnaeus first came up with classification, he classified humans as primates. This was way before Darwin. So humans being classified as primates is not something that Darwin or an evolutionist, as you would put it, came up with. That would be incorrect. That's way before Darwin was even born.
I think the earliest, something that would come close to, modern, quote-unquote, science that we have today, most of it comes from a philosopher named Anaximander, who he was, I think he was Roman, I can't be certain, but he had a lot of the similar theories that we have today about, cosmology and, I'm not sure.
We know
I'm
for
not
sure
sure
cosmology
about-
can't be true because it blows itself out the water.
I don't know.
Cosmology is a field. It's kind of like saying biology isn't, right? It's a
Cos-
field.
When you're talking about cosmology, like the origin of the evolutionary origin of time,
No,
space, and matter.
that's not what I mean by cosmology. I talk about cosmology. I'm referring to the study of
Space.
the universe.
Space, yeah, the universe, not biology by any means, but
Right.
I know there's a lot of the
The
similar.
origin of the universe. Well, from an evolutionary real view, you got a problem with the Big Bang because the Big Bang says it created time, space, and matter. Well, you said it was an expansion, but here's the problem that you guys run into. What you guys always try and do is you guys try and demythologize Christianity using supposed science, when at the same time, for the things you can't account for, you demythologize those things you can't account for, and you assert naturalism. So we assert supernatural causes, and you guys assert natural causes. Well, we don't know, therefore natural causes, therefore the Big Bang, therefore millions of
No
years.
one's saying, no one's saying, oh, we don't know this, therefore natural causes. In science, it would be
The
if
one
so. If
question,
you say
the
you
one
don't
question I
know,
can,
you legitimately don't know. You can't fill in that hole. It will always be. It will just be you don't know. Not you
that's what
can't
I'm
fill that
saying.
hole with
So
something.
if you're saying that, then why do you guys keep on using the Big Bang theory? If you guys don't know where it came from, don't know how it expanded, where it expanded, what expanded, you guys don't know. So why do you guys keep using it? That's
You can know
dishonest.
something. No, you can know something happened. You don't need to know the cause of what's. For example, you don't need to know what caused the Big Bang. For example, you don't need to know what caused it. Just that it happened.
Okay, I can agree with that, but the problem that you guys keep on running into is we know that the Big Bang didn't happen because it contradicts itself. Whatever was the start of this world, it couldn't contradict itself. This world, so you're saying that all that's in this universe is this natural material world, right?
Huh? What?
Everything that's in this universe is natural, right? There are no supernatural entities or anything inside of the universe.
Sure. I would say so.
Okay,
That's
so
because I'm
that
a
means
naturalist.
right. So whatever created this natural world had to be outside of this natural world. It had to be supernatural or metaphysical.
Before we go shoot the gun here, let's define supernatural and natural. What's supernatural and what's natural?
Okay.
I would say something that's inconcordant with natural laws. For example, a spoon floating up to the ceiling. Well, a plastic spoon floating up to the ceiling would be supernatural because that's inconcordant with gravity.
Hmm.
And supernatural would be something that isn't subject to the laws of this natural world. Something that's higher than the laws of this natural world.
Something that would break. We're using modern day scientific explanation for what is natural today, I'm assuming.
Sure.
Hmm.
So what I'm saying is, whoever created this physical world, it had to be metaphysical, or else it it wouldn't be a creation of anything. It would be an expansion of something that was already here. But we know for a fact that this world wasn't always there, because this world had a beginning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I wouldn't say the origins are natural. I don't know the origins. I'm not going to say it was supernatural. I'm going to say I don't know.
So you don't
Because
know the origin of the universe.
that's. Oh my god, I just stubbed my toe. I'm going to say I don't know.
Hmm.
And he said, "Oh my God," but no, I'm not. I'm going to ignore that. But basically, yeah, you don't know the origin of the universe. So furthermore, to say, who's to say you don't know the origin of mankind?
Oh, because I do know the origin of mankind.
No,
Mankind
you don't.
has a genetic ancestry that can be proven empirically.
So from the same people who don't know the origin of the universe is going to tell us the origin of man, but the Christians who know the
I
origin of the universe, the origin of man, the origin of the stars, the origin of time, space, and matter are telling you something, and you're like, no, because I don't know, therefore I do know.
Those are no, those we're talking separate fields of science, biology and cosmology. I mean, I don't.
Okay, so so okay,
Hold on.
okay. Hey, Nick, I shaved my head.
Yeah, I know.
You want to see it? Wait, I'm about to show the universe my body.
I've already seen it.
The universe hasn't seen it. My glorious bald wonder. There you go. It might sound like Morris Chestnut.
It actually doesn't look that bad, honestly.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's because I got the hairline frame in my face. I didn't get like a complete like Steve Harvey jaw.
Yeah.
When Steve Harvey is playing Family Feud, he looked like a monster. Oh. It's true, Mick.
It's the end forever.
I remember when I seen Steve Harvey after he took that toupee off. I was like, oh Lord, put it back on. Woo. But no, he has some banging suits though. He's a stylish man, styling and profiling.
Yep. He's sharp. He dresses sharp.
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, while we wait for Isaiah.
I'm still confused about this line.
We're monkeys only when they don't want. We're monkeys when they want us to be, and then when it's time for us to watch porn and jerk off, then we're monkeys.
It's so true, man.
I'm still confused between this split off between humans and monkeys. So we're humans, but we're monkeys. But then we split. We're part of the ape family. But I mean,
we're not completely a part of the family. We got removed twice.
how do these scientists, these atheistic or evolutionary scientists, how do they define, like, okay, we're a part of the primate family, but then, like, why aren't the primates part of the human family or whatever we would be considered? Like, where's that classification? How do they define that?
Yeah, we just got a message.
This idea.
Steve says he says mono. I don't even know what mono something. We are monkeys evolved from a similar primate. Okay, that's your answer.
We are.
That was your answer with a little New York/Philly accent.
The monkeys only comes out when they want it to be a common ancestor and they can't admit it's Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
It's like, wow.
Some scientists have discovered that, I don't know who, I mean, to me it's just a rumor because I haven't been able to verify it. There's so much science that is unbelievable, but somebody has originated all genetic life to a woman.
Oh well, I actually saw a post on Facebook where it said that the black woman is God. I was done because you know how I feel about people attributing godliness to a woman.
Yeah.
Or deity to a woman, because all the other religions do it except Christianity, and so they're like, the black woman is God and all human life came from the black woman, and then we have all these little ghetto hood ratchet EBT girls on.
Huh.
Hello, I'm back up. My phone died. Had to throw it on the charger.
Oh, it's cool. We were just talking about girls on EBT and Wick saying that they're gods and goddesses.
That's funny.
So where were we at? Where were we at in this conversation?
The origins of humans.
Oh yeah, the same people who don't know the origin of the universe try to tell us the origin of man.
Well, let's not load it
you-
up like that. I'm just still a little shaky on it because it doesn't make sense to me. Logically speaking, if I put it on paper, it wouldn't make sense. If I put a bunch of science around it, yeah, it might make sense to somebody who can read it, but it still wouldn't make sense in any logical sense.
So
why would
basically, I guess what you're trying to say is just like break it down in terms that you can understand, I guess, right?
Something that I don't know, a 7th grader could understand, because it's not.
I can agree with that.
Alright, I can do that. When you have people who share mutations, you can say with beyond reasonable doubt, these people or population share a common ancestor. For example, I was gonna go with dolphins, but never mind.
Dolphins.
Look at dolphins. You can see all dolphins share a common ancestor. And you don't even have to look at the whole dolphin genome. Just look at one dolphin gene, TAS1R2. You can see that in dolphins there's I forgot what the exact mutation was, but a mutation has deactivated this gene in the same way in all species of dolphins. You can say empirically, without any doubt, that this mutation that these dolphins have was inherited from a common ancestor. Now, when I brought up urate oxidase earlier, how the apes have a specific mutation in that gene, we can use that to say, okay, humans and human chimpanzees and gorillas inherited this from a common ancestor because it's such a specific mutation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the question is, who are these common ancestors? That would be the most logical question to ask next.
Yeah, that is the next question. It would be too. Yep.
Uh, the ancestor, I would say, it's not really known, but I would say it would be in the Dryopithecine. It would be a Dryopithecine. Or a
What?
Dryopithecine. A
Oh,
Dryopithecine. Because those are some of the earliest apes that can be found.
So wait, you went from we all have these mutations, and because this mutation is so common, that means they come from a common ancestor. And then the next question is, then we have to find out who the common ancestors are. And then you said the common ancestor is such and such because something about being apes.
would that make it the
That's,
missing link?
I would say that would Dryopithecus would be the common ancestor because it's in the time frame that the common ancestor was predicted to be in.
But
Okay, so
how do we
that
know
would
that's the common ancestor though?
that
We
would
don't.
make it the missing
Because
link
it's
then,
in
right?
the
The thing
correct
that.
time frame. That's where it's predicted to be.
Hmm.
Mike, it looks like you're about to go off.
No, I
With me?
just.
Oh no, I'm not. Oh, Tim, never mind.
No, that's me. He's talking about me, but
Who keeps on sending me messages? Hold on. I think that's Steve. Oh, Steve. Steve's still watching.
who's Steve?
The guy who was just here. Smart guy.
Smart guy.
No, mitochondrial Eve was about 100 to 200,000 years ago, and Y chromosome Adam was about 200 to 300,000 years ago. They did not live at the same time. And I keep on saying this word wrong.
Mono, monophyletic.
Monophyletically just means that no descendants are excluded, while like fish is paraphyletic since fish excludes tetrapods
Yeah,
or,
tetrapods.
or tetrapods. Yeah, I have to go now. I was just listening in, but all right, cool, Steve. See you in about 3 hours.
All right.
All right, so basically, where are we at in this seventh grade breakdown?
Well, I believe I explained it. A shared mutation is common and would be an indicator of common ancestry.
Hmm. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if that's an answer. I mean, it's. Something.
It's really a straw man, a mutated gene, and that's really it. That's a straw man, though.
No, that's not a straw man. I mean,
Yeah,
if we
it
find
is.
a specific mutation in a gene, you can say, okay, these individuals inherited from a common ancestor. For example, look at compare my genome to I forgot the guy's name. Wait, it was a John Doe, but a John Doe was in a car accident. He was the first person to be discovered with the LRP5 V17 mutation. Now, if you can compare all the people with this mutation, you would see those people with the LRP5 V171 gene should share a more recent common ancestor with each other than they would with me, for example, because I don't have that mutation.
What does that mean in English?
Yeah.
Oh wow. These people have a mutation that gives them really strong bones. These people with really strong bones would have their ancestor with each other would be more recent than their ancestor with me. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
You lost
Um,
me 7 sentences ago, man.
Well, I'm trying to see if I can simplify it somehow, but
It's
yeah, I
cool.
think that's about as
it's fine.
simple as I can get.
That's fine. No, I think I get it. I'm really tired. That's all my problem is right now.
So basically, with that being said, I mean my mind still isn't changed. I'll do some research tonight We're gonna do some Scooby Doo investigating tonight. We're gonna break this case.
Yeah, really.
But if evolution is true, then that means that Christianity is false.
Well,
Would
I
you guys
wouldn't say
agree?
so. Well,
No.
no, I wouldn't say so.
Well, the
It would
Bible, the
immediately
Bible, but
fight.
the God, especially the God of Genesis, He made Adam and Eve different from the animals. They have a dominion over them. He made them completely different. He made them differently. He made the birds from the water. He made the animals from the field. He made Adam from the dust. He made Eve from Adam's rib. So even the way we came about is different.
Well, some Christians would interpret that to be metaphorical.
Those Christians would be wrong.
Yeah,
Jesus didn't treat Genesis like a metaphor. I mean,
not at all.
half of
Yeah,
his half of his
I
quotes
disagree.
in the New Testament come
Yeah.
from Jesus. He took it literally.
Okay, well, I would just disagree that Christianity would immediately be falsified if evolution was true. I just
Well,
don't agree with it.
logically, it would. That's why the debate's here.
Okay.
But
Because
because
anyway,
Christianity is true, evolution is false. And the reason why I keep saying this is over and over and over again. The same analogies that we're getting is we share this with this and we share that with that. We have the same parts, therefore we have the same common descent. But you guys X out the part about the creator. Maybe the creator put the same parts inside of us. Maybe so we can look and say, wow, we have the same common designer.
Well, the designer
yeah,
doesn't
it
need
could
to
be a
put these parts in
possibility
there
too.
because these parts don't work. The urate oxidation doesn't work.
But it doesn't mean they didn't always work. Maybe we lost their function.
Yeah, but why the same way?
The same time frame.
Yeah, but that
Yeah,
wouldn't explain
actually,
why
that makes.
that wouldn't. Well, hold on, that wouldn't explain why the Gibbons is broken a different way.
What do you mean?
The Gibbons, they're part of the lesser apes. They also can't oxidize uric acid, but it's from a totally different mutation.
I wouldn't know that. I'm gonna just tell you that right off the back. I wouldn't know, but just because something is broken, one, it doesn't mean that it didn't used to work. And with that being said too, yeah, it doesn't mean it's an extra part.
Well, what would its function be?
Well, unless somebody told you, because you can't use it now, you wouldn't know unless somebody from that time era who actually was able to use it told you.
Oh, I know who can use it. Rats.
Okay. So because
If
we
I
have the
look,
same parts as rats, that means we
no, I'm not saying. I'm
distinguish.
saying I can see a function in rats and say, okay, humans are doing this. Why? I can look at the gene and say, okay, it's for A, B, and C.
And then also, we gotta remember the Tower of Babel. When everyone did speak one language, and then they all got split up and learned different languages, that could probably have something to do with our genetics as well.
Oh yeah, well, going to different locations cause certain mutations, but
Yeah.
that's natural selection. That's not evolution.
If that caused the mutation, it should have been different in a bunch of people. For example, the exon should have been different. Like, for example, this group of humans would have been missing exon 1, while these groups over here would have been missing
But
2 and 4.
we do see certain humans missing certain amount of melanin based on their location.
That's just gene expression.
What does that
Okay.
What does what mean?
gene expression? What does that mean?
Wait, no, not gene expression. Alleles. That's just alleles. It's a gene variant, not expression. Because there are variants of genes.
Hmm.
I don't know what you just said.
Could you explain that? Oh
Well,
man.
for example, me and Tim don't have the same alleles for skin color.
Right.
An allele would be a gene variant. We have the same gene for skin color, just a different version of that gene. Which would be an allele,
Hmm.
which is why our skin color would be different. The same way you have the same genes I have the same genes for making brown eyes as someone with blue eyes, just a different variation of that gene.
What do you mean by different variation?
It's a slightly different sequence. It's an allele. An allele is just a gene variant.
A variation of the base model, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Just like you have variations of dogs, you can have variations of genes.
Okay.
Okay, I can agree with that. We definitely do observe that. But then that begs the question: are there different variations in humans?
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, some alleles can do the same thing. The allele for red hair in Europeans is different from the allele which gives some Melanesians red hair.
Right, but as far as those variations, as far as those changes go, we're not going to like a human isn't going to ever become the size of Texas. That's not going to happen.
That would be biologically impossible.
Right, and it also would be biologically impossible for a human to produce an animal, for an animal to produce a human. But from you stating that humans are animals, then you don't even leave the question that maybe we didn't come from animals.
We are animals, so every time we
See,
reproduce,
because you started. But what if we're not? It's the way you're shaping the question as if the question is already true. What if we're not
what
animals?
would we be? I mean,
We would be humans.
well, humans are a subset of animals, just like trees are a subset of plants.
Not if we were created to be different from the animals. That's what. But because you're in this worldview where no, we're animals, we're animals, we're animals. Then anything else that you come to the conclusion of is going to be based off of the precept that you think we're animals.
Yeah.
No, that's based off the biological. That's what the biology simply is.
But me and you are looking at the same biological sequences and evidences, and we're coming to different conclusions, which mine is right. But
Get out of here with that.
Well, well, when I look at something, I see, okay, this how this word is defined. Does this organism fit this description of this thing or this classification? If it does, it's going to be put in that group. It's just how it works.
say that one more time. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, I classify things according to the definition of a group. If something fits the definition of a group, it's going to be classified within that group.
But you gotta look at who are making the classifications.
Yes, and does that classification work? Does it make sense?
Well, you
Can a
know,
philo-
bats were classified as birds because they had wings. But now in America, because we have a different classification system, we would say that's wrong. But I actually like the idea of classifying things with wings as birds. Who's right?
Well, bats wouldn't fit as birds because they have teeth on the premaxilla and maxilla. Of course, they don't have they have a clavicle. Of course, they don't have a fused wishbone. Their bones aren't pneumatic. They don't have an elongate delta pectoral crest on the humerus. A bunch of other things. I could go down a list.
Based off of your classification system. That's what I'm saying. Is your class. See, it seems like in evolution, truth is subjective and objective when the person who's giving the truth wants it to be.
That's what I'm having trouble with. I'm trying to look at this like an atheist might. In that worldview, anything can be true. Absolutely anything. And it just none of it makes sense. If anything can be true, then that means nothing is true.
Well, no, not everything can be true. I mean, for example, bats aren't birds. That's not going to work.
In your classification system.
No, that's just the scientific classification.
Well, now
Even
you're saying that
bats,
whoever says that a bat is a bird isn't a scientist. No true Scotsman.
no, I'm not saying they're not a scientist. I'm saying they're wrong.
He didn't
Scientists can be
necessarily,
wrong.
he didn't necessarily say that that's. He's just saying that's what modern science believes. But doesn't the Bible classify both of them as the same thing? Like birds are still bats.
Yeah, bird because it was a different classification system, but it doesn't mean it was wrong. Different variation.
We can compare the genome of bats and see they'd be closer to us than a chicken.
But I'm saying that they weren't looking at it at the genetic microscopic level. They were looking at it, oh, it has wings, it's a bird because it can take flight.
Well, yeah, the method of flight is totally different. You can see bats don't have fused fingers.
Well, that's how they were looking at it as because it can take flight, therefore it's a bird. And now, in this modern scientific era in America, because there very well could be another scientific community somewhere else where they say, "Oh, well, a bat definitely is a bird," but that's based off of their. See, the thing is, evolution is based off of the modern scientific classifications
Yep.
made from people with a bias. And
Those
you
Yeah.
have
do have a
nothing to do
bias
with.
because your bias
Yes.
starts off with we're animals.
No, that's not a bias. I'm just saying humans are concordant with the definition of animals.
Hmm.
Made by humans who think we're animals.
No, that's just what it lines up with. We line up with the definition of animals.
But I'm taking on the same definition you're giving to me. I'm saying, okay, we share this with that, we share this with that, and but it doesn't mean we're descendants of them.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we
But
classify in.
I
I'm
can
talking
barely hear him.
classification, not
he's breaking
who.
up.
Yeah.
Am I? Hold on.
Yeah.
You're
Am I
fine
fine
now.
now? All
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
I'm not saying they descended from them. I'm saying they're classified in this group with them.
So did we
For,
descend from monkeys or did we not descend from monkeys or did we split from monkeys or did we not split from monkeys? Which one is it?
we split from monkeys, though the common ancestor of humans and monkeys, well, modern monkeys, would have been a monkey, but that's another point.
And you're saying that one day humans will split from being the variation of humans that we are and give birth to a new variation of humans.
No. I'm saying if humans were to split, well, we have split in the past. There were multiple variations of now extinct humans,
Hmm.
but that's a different point.
Well, when you say like people groups, like the Australian Aborigines, those would be like a
No,
different.
they're the same species. I'm talking like Homo heidelbergensis. That would be an extinct species of human, or Homo erectus, or even Homo naledi is a human.
Is this one of those things where you guys find the tooth and then you guys make a whole clay body out of it?
No. Humans is just the genus. It's a whole group of humans. Even Neanderthals are human.
Yeah, I'm saying Neanderthals. If they, well, I'm not really sure what my take on Neanderthals are because people say
Right there. My phone. Hold on.
Mike, you look so frustrated.
I just feel like I'm on a train that's going in circles, and it's a very small circle.
So true.
I feel like I'm on a train that's giving out selective stops.
Yeah.
But then it's telling me I can get off anytime I want.
I'm not trying to be mean. It's just that's what I feel like right now. I don't feel like I'm getting any. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm learning anything.
Because you're not. Well, I'm going to be real. I'm learning some things, but the thing that I really can't wrap my head off of, like my head around, because I'm not saying evolutionists can't be good scientists. They can. Evolutionists can be good scientists. They can be good doctors, good lawyers, stuff like that. But the evolution theory itself doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense to me. I'm saying as a whole, it just doesn't make sense objectively.
Yeah, and like they keep kind of they change it around, freaking backslide whenever you kind of like get them in a wall and stuff, and then if you say something that doesn't fit in with their current data, they just kind of give you their own data. They're in their own confines of their own naturalism. I'm sitting here giving a supernatural explanation. Yeah, Adam and Eve had perfect genes, and they could have had brothers and sisters that mated with each other and had good-looking children and kept passing it down, and they don't want to accept that. They want to keep giving me numbers.
Well, the thing with modern science today is we're so used to giving out equations, we don't actually do tests. We
Yeah.
give out equations and numbers and sequences, but we don't do observational tests.
I just learned I just learned that what is it? What is that thing that we do that's honor system? You know, we put the papers in, and then they check it, and then
Peer review.
What now?
Peer review.
Yeah, peer review. Somebody, a person just did research on this, and he found that like 60, 70, 80% or of current data is being falsified as true.
Wow. Who didn't see that coming?
I know. That's what I felt like saying. Some of this data just sounds falsified.
Yeah.
It's like these cops who are committing police brutality. We've checked our own evidences, and we've decided that uh, we're not guilty.
Right. And it doesn't make sense. I mean, first off, it doesn't. It's an honor-based system. Okay, if we're evolving, that means we're becoming more honorable. We're becoming less honorable. Is that even a
Well,
part of the system?
well, from what I got from Isaiah, because Isaiah is like the expert, and Isaiah and Steve. Well, you know what's funny? I've talked to some people, and it started off where they're experts, and then they're like, well, I'm not an expert, and let me point you to the geneticist, and then the geneticist will point you to the biologist, and then the biologist will point you to somebody else, and everybody else is the expert, but they all have expert credentials, but then they're not experts at the same time.
It's whatever fits their paradigm. It's whatever fits their.
Like I said, we're on a train, and the conductor is stopping the train at selected stops, while at the same time saying you can get off whenever you want.
Yeah, jump. It's fine. You'll be safe.
Really.
To my viewers watching right now, what do you guys think? You guys can send in your Q&As. Let me see if I think the Q&A section is on. What do you guys think about my bald head? Should I keep it?
Even valid.
I was like, man, I look like Agent 47.
Oh man.
I bet I could get as many girls' numbers with this bald head.
Yeah, I bet you could. It's not all about the looks. It's about the confidence. But that is an entirely different subject.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about girls in a science discussion.
Yeah, I know, right?
Based off evolution, one day we're going to give birth to kids who can't grow hair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest issue I have with scientists who have an evolutionary view is that they have a biased view, or they were taught by biased people who have an anti-religious agenda, and that's the biggest thing. I'm just kind of, I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, what do you guys think of that?
No, yeah, it's completely
I
correct.
think you're 100% right. They're trying to prove, or they're trying to use evidence that we're animals, while at the same time their starting point is we're animals. So it doesn't matter what kind of evidence you show them on the way down to this little walk of evidence. They're always going to come to the conclusion that the end is the same as the beginning, because their beginning is we're animals.
Mhm.
And that's what I always try and get down to, is the nitty gritty. So what you're saying is that evolutionists believe we're animals, creationists believe we're not animals. We're made and designed by God, but they believe that we're not. As a matter of fact, I just got done watching a documentary, a lecture yesterday, written by, or it was. I'll show you guys the lecture that I was watching last night. This guy, he was talking about geocentricity and how the Earth actually isn't floating around the sun, and that there's evidence proving that the Earth is standing still, and that the Earth is in the center of the universe. And if that's true, that means that the Earth was systematically put there on purpose by somebody.
Oh, yeah. And that our universe, I just learned that our universe is the center of a bunch of galaxies or something. Like they're whirling around us.
He was saying that the Earth itself is basically the center of the universe. The Earth.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's true, and I haven't done a lot of research on it, but his evidences for it was pretty darn good. I'm gonna show you guys. Man, I make a good host, don't I? Let me see. Alright, I'm about to show you guys. Let me mute it. Hey, you guys want some gum?
Yeah, hand it right here.
Yeah, pass it through the screen. Put in the disc tray.
What if they make computers that could do that? Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. All right, I'm rewinding it. What do you guys think about that roundtable discussion? That was pretty dope.
Yeah, it was. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I gotta do some more research on using big fancy words and make myself sound smarter.
I used to want to do that too, but then I stopped because I realized it's just it's arrogant.
And then for the people who you're actually having a roundtable discussion for, they're like, "What the heck are you guys talking about?"
Yeah.
All right, I'm about to show you guys the video.
At 15 seconds, guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9, ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where are we? Who are we? From whence did we come? Should we answer as Carl Sagan once did, by saying we find that we live on an insignificant planet of a humdrum star, lost between two spiral arms in the outskirts of a galaxy, tucked away in some forgotten corner of the universe, in which there are far more galaxies than people? Before we answer the who, what, when, where, and why, let's begin by examining the discoveries of modern science that approach these ultimate questions. You may be surprised to find out that the discoveries bring us very close to the answers, but perhaps not in the way you had thought they would. For example, did you know that the newest cosmological evidence puts the Earth at or near the center of the universe? This is admitted by many popular scientists. Did you know that experimental evidence from over 100 years ago to the present day shows the Earth is motionless in space? Did you know that Einstein's special theory of relativity was invented to counter the many experiments in the 1800s and 1900s that showed the Earth was standing still in space? Did you know that Einstein's general theory of relativity was invented to cover the weakness of the special theory, but in doing so, the general theory allowed it to be motionless in space and the center of the universe? Did you know that in addition to Einstein's general theory of relativity, other theories of physics, such as Newton's laws of motion and Mach's say that the universe rotating around a fixed Earth is as scientifically valid as a rotating Earth in a fixed universe? Did you know that every scientific proof for an Earth revolving around the Sun and rotating on an axis has been discredited, and there has never been an experiment that has provided proof that the Earth is moving? Did you know that the most recent data from satellite probes sent up in the 1990s and 2000s show that the known universe is aligned with both the Sun-Earth ecliptic and the Earth's equator, revealing that our universe is geocentrically oriented, with Earth at the center? Did you know that the most recent data from telescopes shows that galaxies and many other celestial objects, such as quasars and gamma-ray bursters, are oriented around the Earth in concentric spheres? As you can see, in sharp contrast to Carl Sagan's perspective that the Earth is lost in space, the scientific evidence shows we are indeed very special, since it appears placed at the very heart of the universe, motionless and serene, watched and cared for by someone who apparently did not leave things to time and chance. For the next hour or so, sit back and watch as we provide shocking scientific evidence from the best scientific minds and the best experiments to confirm these astounding truths. We must caution you, however, the evidence you are about to see is so shocking and so revolutionary that once you grasp its significance, you will no longer be the same. In short, the knowledge within has the power to change your life. Okay.
What do you guys think?
That looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty cool.
It's called Journey to the Center of the Universe, and then the lecture is by Dr. Robert Sungenis. And that's his documentary on that's his lecture on geocentricity. Geocentricity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a good lecture. I made it probably like 2.6 into the video. So
2.6? What do you mean?
well, I didn't make it all the way through.
What is 2.6 though? I don't understand what that means.
It's the fraction 2.6, not halfway through. I can't say I made it halfway through because I didn't make it halfway through.
You said 2/6 through, like 2/6, literally.
Yeah, 2/6.
Wouldn't that be 1/3?
Whatever.
You're funny.
So, what do you guys think about the geocentricity argument?
I haven't heard too much about it.
I find science, this type of science, biological science, to be incredibly philosophical. I think universal, like science of the cosmos, is even more philosophical. So it can go literally any direction you want it to. You can interpret it any way you want using very little facts, and I don't know. That's why I stopped trying to get into a science debate, because science is so interpretive. Somebody can interpret science so differently from another person, and they could come from the same exact type of group.
Science doesn't say anything. Scientists do.
I know. That's what I say too. It's just they don't understand that. Science is an entity almost to them, like a god. But it's
they speak about it like it has a voice, like it has a vision, like it has a mind. Science.
Like it has it has an ultimate goal. Like this ultimate goal to science. What's the ultimate goal? Immortality? I don't know.
What's the goal?
Really.
I tipped my head to that. Let me show you guys this other video. Oh my gosh. You guys are killing me.
Science, if science is an entity, or if science is a thing to be followed, if science is basically the center of the world or whatever it is, that would mean that science has to have a goal. What's the goal? To better mankind, or
well,
to better...
remember I always tell you, Mike, that basically the sub-religion for the New World Order is going to be evolution. I'm telling you, that's going to be the sub-religion, because they're going to need have everybody in the mindset that we need to evolve so we can become
Yeah.
like gods.
Yeah, it's a part of the transhumanist movement.
Yep.
And if you read about the transhumanist party, it's kind of creepy. It's like you're watching the Nazi party restart. The leader of the transhumanists wrote a book, a fictional book about Christians going against transhumanism, and in the end of the book, he kills all the Christians. It's
Of course
insane.
he does.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to do. That's everybody's end goal.
Yeah.
But you know what I found funny is the mountain that these scientists are climbing, they're finding out the Christians were already at the top.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, in about like 100 years, even more evidence against evolution is going to come out. And they're going to say, wow, these younger creationist Christians were right.
It's
Because
true, yeah.
whenever you use millions of years is equal to once upon a time. Well, because we don't know, give it time, give it millions of years, because they know this stuff can. Now, Steve did say, oh, well, you know, these changes can happen within one generation. How far are these changes? Because I agree, things can change, but they have a limit. See, in the world of evolution, changes can be very microscopic to borderline the size of Texas. And that's imaginary. That's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you guys this, but this is a video by Frank Turek. It's funny how I know everybody, but I don't know Frank Turek.
I don't know who he is.
This is who he is.
Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. If you had 1 minute to be able to unpack for the audience, we interview the world's leading apologists to provide credible answers to curious questions. Frank, one of the things that you talk about when you're dealing with this idea of the Darwinist and intelligent design, you'll say it's not quite what people think. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what I mean by that is it's not really a debate over evidence. Everybody's looking at the same evidence. It's really a debate over philosophy. It's a debate over what causes we consider possible before we even look at the evidence. What the truth of the matter is in science there are at least 2 types of causes. There's intelligent causes and non-intelligent, or we might say natural causes. But what the Darwinists do is they rule out intelligent causes before they look at the evidence. So the only cause they have possible is a natural cause. And science is a search for causes, essentially. So it's no wonder that no matter how complex...
Sorry about that, guys.
design, say, a one-cell...
No. Sorry about that. Tried to change the quality for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
They're always going to come...
What the heck?
Frank Turek.
Oh.
Science doesn't say anything.
cell amoeba is, they're always going to come to the conclusion that it had to have developed some way in a natural way, by a natural cause. Where the intelligent design people are saying, well, we're open to a natural cause creating it, but it seems like it's got the characteristics that only an intelligent being could create. And so that's the main thing. It's really an argument over philosophy, and an argument not over the evidence, because we're all looking at the same evidence, an argument over the...
What the heck? What the heck is wrong? This is why I gotta disconnect my phone when I'm doing things like this, because people calling messes everything up. Ah. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to bump it down to 360, no HD.
It doesn't matter.
over philosophy. Which of the 2 causes is possible? Dawkins.
What the heck? This is embarrassing for a live show. I can't edit this out.
Welcome to the one.
No, bro. Remember the last show we did? The Amber Rose scenario where she was doing her slut walking shame.
Who are you talking to?
Mick.
I'm not sure I was there.
Yeah, you were. And then the little kid cussed, and we were live on air.
Oh gosh, yes. Ew.
We have for macroevolution is a common genetic code, and that shows that we have a common ancestor. Well, that's a possible interpretation. But the other possible interpretation is a common genetic code is the result of a common designer, not a common ancestor. See, so science really doesn't say anything. Scientists do, and it depends on how you interpret the data. All data needs to be interpreted. So you've got philosophy in the beginning, which causes will be considered possible, and you've got philosophy after you have the evidence. What's the best way to interpret it?
Guys, which is the best way to interpret it?
That's exactly my argument right there.
Yeah.
The starting point is philosophy mixed with science, and then that ends with philosophical science. It's no different from the beginning to the end.
Well, everybody has a philosophical worldview. That's the thing. But we being Christians, we're not afraid to admit it. See, they're saying that the way they look at science is strictly scientific,
Yeah.
which is circular reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying no. The way we look at science is we are basically thinking God's thoughts after God. That's all science is. We're thinking God's thoughts after Him, but they're thinking their own thoughts after Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like
that's very
that.
true.
Yeah. You go ahead.
And so it's not really an evidence issue, because in the end creationist wins anyway. But it's not really an evidence issue. It's a philosophical argument. And number one, if the geocentricity argument is true, if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means that it was designed that way and it was systematically put there, not by random time and chance. Two, if humans didn't evolve through random time and chance and random processes, which evolution actually give evolution godly attributes. Like we just said, evolution takes away certain processes that the organism doesn't need. Evolution sees fit that these organisms work this way. They talk about it like it is a freaking deity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
they do.
evolution. Yeah.
They give it a lot of exceptions where, scientifically speaking, if they had those exceptions, it wouldn't be scientific, but they still give them those exceptions because it's a fact or something. I don't know. And recently I've been hearing talk of scientists trying to, the word, basically debunk certain laws, certain aspects of the scientific laws. I don't remember which ones.
So they're trying to like go outside of science and into the supernatural.
I don't know, but
Well, that was the whole thing with CERN. Remember, CERN was all about trying to use naturalism to not only disprove a God, but they were trying to use naturalistic science to go into the supernatural. Like, without giving God his credit. See, it's not that they don't believe in the supernatural. They just don't want to give a supernatural God the credit that he's due. That's the problem. It's not that they don't believe in the supernatural, because they try to exceed naturalism to go into supernatural limits. Which the supernatural doesn't have any limits, but that was the whole thing with CERN, where they made this big circle in France. And as a matter of fact, let me show you guys. I made a real quick video about that for the people who don't know who CERN is. We got some people watching right now too.
are we assuming they don't know what CERN is, or are they asking?
I'm assuming that they don't know what CERN is, but because some people know what it is, but they don't know how dangerous it is or was or whatever. They're still working on it, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for certain.
So here's the
They've been
video.
causing earthquakes.
Yeah.
That's the least of our problems, earthquakes. I wish it would just end with earthquakes. Nope.
smasher ever built has been turned on for its second research run. CERN's Large Hadron Collider was fired up after a 2-year upgrade as it continues to explore new frontiers in physics. The collider is already smashing proton beams together at much higher energies than were achieved in its first run. Before, collisions occurred at 8 trillion electron volts, whereas it's now happening at 13 trillion.
It means that we can probe to higher energies to produce higher mass particles and also to shorter distances than we've been able to before. So we're taking a step forward in the sensitivity to possible new physics.
But what is it and what does it actually do? Situated 100 meters beneath the Franco-Swiss border, the machine is housed on a 17-mile circular track. Beams of high energy are fired around these tunnels just below the speed of light. They're then directed to crash into each other, revealing their internal structures and releasing energy that creates new particles. This time around, though, scientists are aiming a little higher. They hope to find evidence of hidden extra dimensions and dark matter.
They hope to find evidence of hidden extra dimensions and dark matter. Extra dimensions and dark matter.
Antimatter is the mirror image of ordinary matter. However, matter has one charge, and antimatter has the opposite charge. If there was an anti-me made out of antimatter, that person in principle could look exactly like me. Same personality, words, same everything, except of course when I decide to shake his hand. At that point, we both would blow ourselves to smithereens in a gigantic nuclear explosion. Your ancestors called it magic, and you call it science. But I come from a place where they're one and the same thing. Jarvis, turn now. This won't be. Boy! Very much so, sir. Ready for warp, sir. Let's punch it.
While everything around us is described as matter, anything that has mass and takes up space, dark matter is much harder to detect as it interacts differently. It is thought, however, to keep galaxies intact, but it has never actually been observed as it doesn't absorb, reflect, or emit light. It's the work conducted with the collider, which will now produce up to 10 times more data, will provide the first clues as to what this massive energy is, and hopefully we'll start getting more answers as to how our universe was created.
Hey, you guys, I just need to throw that in there.
That was a good video.
Yeah.
Thanks. We're gonna find out how the world was made, and we got a book sitting here telling you how the world was made. In the beginning, God created time, space, and matter. But you heard them saying basically they're trying to figure out if there are any extra dimensions and trying to find hypergates and stargates.
Yep.
We're going outside of science now. We're going outside of this natural universe to go into some supernatural universe we don't even know exists. It's funny how they're so certain there's a world beyond their own, but they're so uncertain about a God being outside of themselves. That's not you.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, guys, we had a really, really good talk. Is there anything else that I want to show you guys? Um, when I was talking to Steve and all the other guys on their show, they were saying, Answers in Genesis isn't trustworthy or credible, or neither is ICR. Now, I will say that the argument about the 70%, maybe they should stop using it if the guy retracted it. The guy who made up the 70% argument, saying that humans and apes are only 70% compatible, he retracted it and he said that he made a mistake. And if that's the case, then we should stop using it. But other than that, I think Answers in Genesis is a pretty credible source. What do you guys think?
Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely believe it's credible. It's only evolutionists that are trying to say, oh, it's not credible, but they have their own presupposition too.
Right, because it's a creation site.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a matter of fact, I didn't know much about fossils, so I looked it up on Answers in Genesis. I learned a whole bunch about fossils, and that saved me $30,000 in tuition.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
And so when it comes to how fossils are made and stuff like that, like I was going about talking to I think he was a paleontologist talking about fossils, and he was like, yeah, fossils are made like that, and et cetera, et cetera. And then when I said, well, these fossils came from the flood, when we started talking about how the fossils got there, that's when he was like, no, the flood never happened. There wasn't a flood. If they did get there by a flood, it wasn't a worldwide flood. It was a local flood. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I got this from the same source, which is a creationist source. I'm checking out the website right now, and their website is pretty cool to me. I like it. But this right here, this is probably one of the biggest. This is probably the deciding factor on if evolution is true or not. Because it's not just the science, like you said, Mike. It's about the philosophy behind it. Are we animals? Because if we're animals,
the problem that atheists, they assert that their philosophical view is based upon purely fact.
Right.
How do you determine what is fact and what is not? Because evidence and evidence and repeating patterns is what makes something true or not. Okay, define true, define false, define this or that. What is the standard here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before somebody becomes a Christian, when they become a Christian, they have that same problem. You know how we get our biblical principles from the Bible, so we have a biblical worldview. But before you have your biblical principles, when you're looking at the Bible without biblical principles, so if you don't have a biblical if you don't have biblical principles and you're looking at the Bible, did you get your principles from the Bible, or did your principles that you got from yourself? Like, how can I even put this? But before you became a Christian, when looking through the Bible, how do you know you rightfully looked at the evidence in the Bible without first believing in the Bible? Because everybody here in this panel wasn't always a Christian. But how do we know that we came to the right conclusion of being a Christian without using a Christian worldview? Like, we didn't have a Christian worldview before we became a Christian, but now we're Christians. How do we know we made the right decision?
The only way that can be answered is through philosophy, not science.
Wow. Well, I used to say this too. The origin of the universe isn't even it isn't even a scientific debate. That's up to it's basically a historical argument, which if somebody or something created the world, we would need documentation from eyewitnesses. That's it. We would need some type of eyewitness account from somebody who either observed it or somebody who made it.
Even if you had documentation of an eyewitness account, okay, philosophically speaking, you would need to see it yourself. Okay, this is the origin because I saw it. This is the truth because I say it's true, because I know that it's true. That's the only way you can do it. Personal, honest, first-person perception. That's it. Anything
Well,
beyond that, philosophically speaking, is false. You can't verify that it's true at all in any way whatsoever, unless you've seen it yourself.
well, this is what I said when I was evangelizing to an atheist guy at University of Penn College. That's down in Philadelphia, guys. I was at UPenn College evangelizing to an atheist, and I said, I believe the Bible is true because the history of the Bible is true. When if the history of the Bible is true, that means the gospel is true because the gospel is a part of that history. And I also believe not only is there a creator, but I know that the creator is the God of the Bible because what we observe matches up with what with what the historical documents say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now you have to mix observation with history so you can get the origins right. But in an evolution, in a strictly purely naturalistic worldview, they're trying to look at what they see today to try and interpret the present. We have a book that tells us what happened in the past, and so from what we see in the present, we interpret that from what we see in the past. We're looking at the past to interpret the present. They're looking at the present to interpret the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And so, like you said, Tim, with certain statements that Steve made, how do you know that unless you were there? How do you know? We only have 70 years of this information, so how do we know that it hasn't changed?
Yep.
We don't.
We
That's the
don't.
honest answer. We don't know unless somebody told us, unless we had documentation from somebody who witnessed it, and we do. But it's not that we don't. It's just that the evolutionists and the atheists don't want to accept it, which
Yep.
doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that they have it's the fallacy of cherry picking.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Their problem is, I guess, logically speaking, their issue would be verification of what the Bible states as what is true, and they disagree with that.
But from what we observe, it matches the historical documents of what the Bible says. And then I know we always hear the arguments like, well, if we're created, then we're created badly, and blah blah blah. And it's so many things where if people would just read, they would know. Like I used to hear this a lot. Where did Cain get his wife? Well, the Bible says that Adam and Eve had sons and daughters, so he married his sister.
You know, I've actually that's probably one of the questions I hear the least amount of. That's I don't know, but I don't talk to smart atheists. I talk to dumb ones. So this is the problem.
Well, I wasn't an atheist, but I was a Christian purely off of my family is like a black Baptist people. Oh, thank God Jesus for this and blah. You know how black people are with God, man. People like black people just they just come out the womb knowing God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've yet to actually meet anybody in my family who's an atheist. I know there are black atheists now, but it wasn't really that prominent. Now you're seeing black people becoming atheists, and that's a problem too because black people they think that Christianity was forced on them by supposed white people, not even knowing that Christianity is a Hebrew religion.
And that would be right next to I mean, supposedly according to black people, oh, they're from Africa, right? Which they're not.
Right.
They,
Right.
they're that religion, which is I'm not even sure if it's predominantly white. I don't even think that's true, but that would mean that other black people would have been the origins of that religion, not white people.
Well, it seems like a lot of people nowadays they're all getting on the bandwagon just because it's popular, not because it's true.
Yeah, that's that is so what it is. Modern culture, how modern culture interprets anything is usually how a lot of people try to look at it.
Well, you know that's how we got here with the whole LGBTQP.
Yeah. Oh man,
LGBTQP Nambla.
Ambla. Shoot.
It's because most people think that truth comes from majority, and not even think people know truth comes from God, but they don't care. They just want to do it their way. That's why in my debate when I had with Isaiah, even though it sounded harsh, but it's true. Most people suppress the truth about God so they can watch porn, jerk off, and smoke weed.
Mhm. Yep.
I need to I need to copyright that phrase, man. You're only suppressing the truth about God because you want to smoke weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that simple.
So I have a pretty detailed Bible right here. It's a KJV study Bible, and my goodness, they've put so much history into this. I'm like, how did they figure that out? How do they match this up with the Bible? Okay, so it says here, let's see, some scholars place Ezra's mission in the 7th year of Artaxerxes II, about 398 BC. Okay, they're talking about Ezra being within the same era as Artaxerxes II in 398. Yeah.
You talking about the guy from 300, Xerxes?
Yeah.
It's been a lot of Xerxes, but yes, really, not even joking. This, I don't even know how they do it, but
I mean, it's basically like the people who say Jesus didn't exist, and you're like, well, do you believe in Caesar? And they're like, yeah, I believe in Caesar. And then you can say, well, Caesar believed in Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
seriously, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You're saying the Bible is false. Okay, not all of science is true, okay? If science as an entirety, which is, I don't even know how to define that.
No, not all of the claims that scientists make are science.
Yes, okay.
It's philosophy. It's philosophy masked as science.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the Bible is false, that means bits of it is true, some of it is false, all of it is false.
If the Bible is false, then what's? If the Bible is false, then if evolution is true, that means we're animals. But we know it's not true. That's the problem. We know it's not true because what we observe doesn't match with that theory. What we observe matches the historical documents of the Bible.
Yep.
I mean,
and so it goes beyond, well, we know the Bible is true because we know the Bible is true. No, we know the Bible is true because the history is true, and what we observe matches the history, and nobody can take away from that. And you know, people can make clever arguments to try and undermine what the Bible teaches about the origin of life, or even the resurrection of Jesus. The resurrection of Jesus even blows. Oh, Isaiah, you're back.
What's going on?
What do you think about the resurrection of Jesus Christ?
I don't believe it. I mean, I agree with Jesus' whole philosophy, but I don't believe the whole water to wine and walking on water and rising from the dead parts.
Right, because you're a naturalist, right? So it wouldn't matter if it was true or not, because your assertion is that you don't believe in the supernatural.
Oh, I would believe in it if it was true.
No, you wouldn't, because you're a naturalist.
Yeah.
If there were evidence for it, sure.
We have evidence for it. You don't believe it.
I would accept the supernatural in a minute if there was evidence. I mean, such as as I said earlier, a plastic spoon floating up to the ceiling.
We don't even need that.
Have you ever watched an exorcism?
Do you mean the 1970s movie?
No, like a real exorcism.
Nope.
You can find them on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh yeah, didn't they do a live exorcism on Halloween?
Yeah, but that was done by Catholics. Anything that's done with Catholics, I don't want to watch it. They're a bunch of freaks.
It definitely doesn't work. Saying Hail Mary to a demon isn't gonna do crap.
I like Catholics. Catholics are nice. I mean, Jehovah's Witness. I mean, I like them too, but they get on my nerves sometimes. I mean, knocking on the door when it's like.
Well, join up with them and then try to get out and tell me what happens.
Oh yeah, you know,
it's like 20 degrees out here right now. I don't want to be out there. No.
Knocking on doors. Do you want to hear about Jesus, who's really Michael the Archangel? Oh wait, they don't tell you guys that.
Oh man.
I was
We'll let you
talking
find
to a
that out
girl.
later.
I was talking to a girl who's a 7-day Adventist. I'm not going to put her name out there or anything like that. She really does love Jesus. I just don't think she has the right Jesus because she said, don't you know the Bible teaches that Jesus is Michael the Archangel? And so I'm like, all right, show me. And the verse didn't directly say Jesus is Michael, nor did it teach that indirectly. So I'm like, where are you getting that Jesus is Michael the Archangel from? Because if Jesus is Michael the Archangel, that's implying that he's a created being, right?
Yep.
Which means that Jesus can't be God. Meaning Jesus can't even be God's begotten son, because God, he wouldn't have God's nature. God's nature isn't created. God is a creator. That's his nature. He's a creator.
Yeah, it makes sense.
God is what they call a quantum loop. God is always he's just eternal. But with that being said, Isaiah, I don't need to do a miracle to prove that supernatural that the supernatural exists. The shadows prove the sunshine. Because we have the natural, it proves the supernatural even more. You don't know the origin of the natural. I know the origin of the natural, and I'm telling you, it's supernatural.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, I would say I would need some sort of supernatural event. Just one would prove it to me. Oh my
Well,
God,
they don't conflict. They prove one another even more. Just for the sheer fact that this natural world exists, you should believe in the supernatural. Whatever made this natural world had to be outside of the natural world by logic. It had to be outside of it. It had to be greater than it.
No, I mean, I'm no particular expert in the field of physics. I mean, I think Steve could probably explain quantum fluctuations, because I would do a horrible job at explaining it. But
Well, whatever created this physical world had to be what's the word? Metaphysical. It had to be outside of this physical world. Because if it didn't, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be creation. It would be an expansion. And we know this world has a beginning because we live in time.
yeah, the world has a beginning. It's after the beginning of the universe, but it's
Right. So what was the beginning?
what was the Big Bang is the beginning. That refers to the beginning period.
No, the Big Bang was an expansion. You said it yourself. What made the Big
Yes.
Bang? If the Big Bang is true.
I don't know.
And I do know. I'm telling you, I do know. You just don't want to accept it.
No, I mean, if you could offer me some sort of evidence that God caused the Big Bang, sure, I'd accept it in a minute.
Genesis 1:1 proves that God created not the Big Bang. God is the bang. God doesn't need a Big Bang. Why would God use a Big Bang when he can just use himself? People will start worshiping the Big Bang rather than God. It makes sense. Why would God do that?
No, the Big Bang was actually a model created to prove creation, not disprove it. But
Well, the Big Bang was created by a Catholic, and Catholics are the devil's agents.
so I like Catholics, but I mean, I don't think it's really in conflict with Christianity. I never thought it was.
Well, Catholics teach that you can have your sins forgiven by a priest by giving them money. So you can rob a priest for $2. You can kidnap somebody's kid for $7.
You might want to look into the Protestant Reformation if you don't realize what's going on with Catholics and Christians.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could pay somebody. You could pay somebody to have your sins forgiven, which is not biblical.
I'm terrible with science because science doesn't make sense to me because a lot of people put way too much philosophy for it to actually be true. But history is definitive. There's not much debate room in it. I love history. And the first schism happened between the Eastern Europeans. The second schism happened between us and the Catholic Church. That would be, well, Americans.
Well, like I was saying earlier, before Isaiah came, the Bible it isn't just a book that we can use science to prove, but it's a book of history from the first sentence. In the beginning, it's telling you what happened in the past. That's history, something that happened in the past that we can't observe.
I would disagree that it's history. I would strictly say it's allegorical. It's metaphorical. I mean, because well, you know that you can't have a gene that has over 2,000 alleles if you have a population that came from 2 individuals. It's not going to work.
I don't understand what you're saying.
My God, damn it.
Like, all right. So Hold on, let me get my iPad for a minute because I have something. Hold on 1 minute, I'll be back.
An allele is a genetic split, isn't it?
It's a gene variant. You know how there's variations of dogs? There's also
Yeah,
variations in...
that's right. That.
Yeah.
All right, I got my iPad right here. This is why I downloaded some stuff just in case you brought that up, because I knew you were going to bring that up. I came prepared, Master.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I mean, alleles are just one way of measuring genetic diversity in a population. There's plenty of others, SNPs, polymorphic loci, plenty of other things. But alleles are a good way. I mean, you would expect in a population that suffered from a recent bottleneck, you would expect low amounts of alleles, but that's not what we see. We see, for example, the HLA-C gene, which is a
Well, actually, the population that we have today disproves evolution. Obviously, I'm not an expert on that. I'll show you guys a real quick video on that. But the population we have today disproves evolution and improves creation even more.
Well, no, because the human population is highly diverse. I mentioned the HLA. No, it was B, not C. B has over 2,000 alleles. C has only like 1,000. But
our SNPs show that we came from a small starting population.
SNP, single nucleotide polymorph. Yeah, I know what those are, but that also wouldn't. It actually doesn't. We can look at SNPs in the amount of polymorphic loci and alleles and see the human population never went below 10,000. That's the max.
All right. Here we go.
That's due to today's mutation rates, though. We don't know what it was like back then.
Oh, no.
You're using today's data to measure the past when the past could have had completely different data.
Oh no, you can do that. You can use today's data to look at the past. For example,
you can't.
Have cheetah. Well, yes, you can. I'm going to explain. You have cheetahs. You can see their genetic diversity is super low.
All it would ever be.
Where they can accept skin grafts from cheetahs in totally different countries. It will be accepted. You can use that to say, okay, cheetahs suffered a really recent population bottleneck. Their population went low fairly recently. I think it was put around the last ice age or something. It wasn't too long ago, a few thousand years.
You guys can see my screen?
I can't.
Yeah,
I can now.
Model is substantiated. Well, I actually did crunch the numbers. I used the human population growth formula obtained from a pre-calculus math book at Gilmore College, 4th edition by Carl J. Smith, page 200. Anyone could look it up. But here's several evolution scenarios. I took them at their own word, that Homo sapiens been around 500,000 years. And I started with one man and one woman. Now, we could have, they think humans evolved. As you can see, let's be kind to them. Yes, they have a numbers problem, so I'm cutting this as much as I can. Yes. I'm taking their numbers from their publication here, and the growth rate is under 0.5%. Now, we know that to be verifiable through the data that we do have through the centuries. We can't go back very far, admittedly, but it does appear to be under 0.5% average annual growth rate. Worldwide, it's about 1.7, so this is certainly conservative. And even at that conservative rate, you would get that figure that we demonstrated earlier in the program, 2.45 times 10 to the 990th power.
I hope this audience understands that is light years beyond the number of electrons in the universe, beyond the amount of space available for human bodies in the entire universe, light years beyond that.
That's right.
Possibility. So that's absolutely ridiculous, yet the evolutionary community holds on to that concept of deep roots.
Well, their editors need to crunch those numbers. If they're going to publish those dates, then they need to publish numbers that work.
Yes.
And we know the answer. That scenario is obviously not giving the answer. The answer is 6.5 billion.
So now, let's be a little kinder and
give them more. Let me tweak their data a little bit for them, see if we can get it to work. So I said, well, what about 100,000 years? One man, one woman. I can't cut that figure any.
Right.
And I went 1/10 of 1%.
Oh, that's giving a lot of slack.
Less than we have ever seen any century in which there's recorded data. still you get a number where you're going to have to move the decimal 43 places to the right. And that is obviously wrong. We're looking for 10 to the 9th power right there.
And you have 10 to the 43rd
10
power.
to the 43rd power.
Not enough space on planet Earth.
Not enough space, and certainly not what we know to be true through census.
Right.
And incidentally, if that were true, then where's all the bodies?
Oh, yes.
You couldn't till your garden without hitting skeletons. And so finally, evolution scenario 3, what if we just go 25,000 years ago?
I mean, incredibly kind.
I don't think any of them would truly accept that. They'd push it back at least a little bit. But I said, well, let's just see what the independent computer calculator is going to give us, because we're just crunching numbers. There's no bias in a calculator of any kind. 2 plus 2 is 4 for anyone. So starting with that, one man, one woman, an annual growth rate less than we've ever seen recorded, still gives 1.44 times 10 to the 11th power for the population. Now, some may be tempted.
Is it over?
22 Earths worth of people. Yes. So the only conclusion I think you can academically say is, well, none of those scenarios worked.
The evolution of humans did not occur.
Exactly. So now, to be fair, let's test the biblical scenario. Yes. Starting about 4,500 years ago, after this big death event, which we know historically, if the Bible is to be believed, it was true, it did happen. And with the 4 husband and wife units on the ark, that's 8 human beings, and an annual growth rate of under 1/2%.
Yes.
We know, tracing the
very realistic.
The Jewish line, they've averaged about 0.44% throughout recorded history, and the whole world has been about that same rate, under 0.5% average. That would give a world population of 6.5 billion. Well, that's what I call a bullseye.
That's right. That's precisely what we find.
And it doesn't require a lot of mental gymnastics, a lot of well, get your eraser out, and we're going to have to tweak this or tweak that and try to make it work.
Just straightforward thing.
Exactly. And I had one challenging professor write to me, and he said, well, I can arrive at this if I just take the growth rate down low enough. I said, well, we're already lower than any in recorded history, and which one would you suggest? And he gave a really low growth rate to accommodate 500,000 years, but that meant that the first couple would have had to have over 10,000 anniversaries before the first child would be born. So you get into some really unrealistic affairs. Now,
See, Isaiah, I think the problem that we all didn't see is you said you can't have that many people in the population with one woman and one man. But remember, the population got started over again with the flood. And he brought it up. That's what made me think about it.
That wasn't what I was saying. That wasn't what I was saying. I was saying the amount of alleles, not the amount of people, the amount of alleles in the population of a certain gene.
He's talking about genetics with the alleodes. It's basically a split off from the base gene.
Mm-hmm. I still don't follow.
Yeah, as I was saying, alleles are just one method to measure genetic diversity.
Right.
I'm just going to move past that. I don't know what the F you guys are talking about. I don't know what you guys are smoking some strong crack.
I get it. I don't think it explains anything.
It doesn't.
But even the world's population debunks macroevolution.
Actually, no, it doesn't, because you're not going to get a carrying capacity until you have some sort of agriculture, which really didn't occur until 10,000 years ago, about. And on top of that, you're not taking into account genocides, disease. I mean, I think it was the Black Death, or was it the plague?
So
One
now,
of them wiped out 1/3 of the population of
but
Europe.
you're making the assumption that millions of years is true. That helps your argument, but millions of years isn't true.
Yes, it kind of is.
No, it's not.
I just learned that what actually killed off the Native Americans mostly wasn't white people. Okay, bad. That's a bad subject to get into, but it was the Black Plague.
Go ahead, man. Defend your people. I got to defend mine every day. You see my people on Fox 29 robbing people, and Isaiah, you know.
Oh yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but no.
Hey, what do you guys? What do you guys think about the police brutality and stuff going on?
I mean, it's always been something that's going on. I think it's just increased lately because you remember Rodney King, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, it's always been something that's going on. I think it's just increased lately.
I think
it's gotten more attention.
That is exactly what I was going to say. I think it's blown out of proportion through the media.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to show you guys the video of the 16-year-old that was shot. I don't know if it's real or not. People have been saying that it's real and he got shot. But nowadays, with all these false flags happening, I don't know, man. And there was just a shooting in San Bernardino or something like that today. You guys heard about it, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Vaguely.
Yeah, the first guy they interviewed had a Freemason hat on.
Yes, I saw
False
that.
flag. Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Do they really think we're that dumb? Really? Well, no. Most of the population is dumb anyway, but.
It's their plan. They're trying to get guns out of the hands of citizens.
Yeah, man.
Good luck with that.
This reminds me of that other black kid who got shot by the Mexican guy.
Oh, you're talking about George Zimmerman?
Yeah, Trayvon Martin thing.
Now, before you say anything,
His
you might
father
want to
was a Freemason.
Okay, I was about to say, think about the next few words you're about to say, because I know some people, they act like Trayvon was their son.
No. That's not what I was saying at all. I'm just, his father was the Grand Master of the temple of that area.
I can show you guys the pictures. Hold on, let me show you guys. Trayvon's daddy is a Freemason.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
he's a Grand Master of the Lodge.
Wow.
Not to mention that, they don't find out they worship a giant penis until they hit like the 33rd degree.
Giant penis. That's funny.
But they are phallus worshippers. That's what they do.
No wonder they're so secretive. They're embarrassed.
Pretty much. Let me show you guys this.
Each other.
There you go. There goes his pop.
Wow.
Let me just zoom in on the face so can't nobody say I falsified this. This is for reals.
Oh.
I never looked that far into Trayvon Martin. I guess I should have. Wow.
There you go. There goes his face. Can't nobody say I falsified this. And no,
Right between the pillars, too. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
What kind of gloves you got on? Yeah. His daddy was a booty bandit.
Oh, man.
If you don't know, Isaiah, Freemasons are they are the scum of the earth who think they run stuff, but they really don't. The Jews run everything, but they have everybody think the Freemasons run it. It's more like how you gotta point to the geneticists and the geneticists point to the biologists.
Yeah. I
had to throw it in there, but yeah, Freemasons, they ain't nothing.
They ain't nothing, so I got them on my board.
I would say
Yeah. And then you got the Jewish Star X Star too. I'm so tired of Christians worshiping Israel. Oh, Israel. Oh, Israel.
No. Yeah.
I remember watching John Hagee and my friend told me about John Hagee. He's like, John Hagee said, if you start to pray for Israel, you start to pray for your brothers and sisters in Israel, your Jewish sisters and cousins, you'll start to see the miracles of God. Shaka.
I always knew there was something wrong with John Hagee. I always knew it. Every time he came on TV, my parents used to watch him, and I would say, turn that guy off. I just, for some reason, I didn't like him, and now I find out just a little bit later what he's all about.
Who is this?
John Hagee.
John Hagee.
For Israel, and you'll see the miracles of God, and you're like, boom, shakalaka.
Oh, man.
Peter Popoff. Does anybody remember him?
Who?
I think I've heard of him.
What's his name?
Peter Popoff.
Peter Popoff. He sounds like Steven Anderson. Peter
What is
Popoff.
what is he known for?
Faith healing, but he got exposed badly.
Oh yeah, well most of those guys are false anyway. Ain't nobody healing people now today. There's too many people living. There's too many people living in sin to be healing people. How you gonna heal somebody of diseases and stuff, and you at home sleeping with prostitutes and stuff? God ain't gonna give you no power.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're not going to hear about. Okay, let's just say that faith healing still is actually a thing. They're not going to do it publicly because it'll bring them glory, and that's not the point of the Christian walk at all. It's not about bringing pride to you or attention to yourself, but attention to God.
I don't know about that, but I do know there are some people who are like cessationalists who believe that only the disciples had the power to heal people, and if you weren't in that little clubhouse, then God isn't going to give you the power to heal anybody. I'm not in that group, but I lean towards if somebody is healing somebody today, they better have a pure life. They better not do anything wrong. They better never sin. They better just be pure. They better be so close to God they can get the remnant heat off his
Yeah, that's funny. I was just talking about this same subject last night in my fellowship group at church. Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody's close to God like that, they better be so close to God when they get back from praying, you can see the glistening shining off their face.
That's not even biblical. They have to sin. It's not even biblical. You have to.
Well, no, I'm just saying they have to be extremely close to God. Where if God breathes, they can like smell His minty fresh breath.
Oh man.
I'm watching the video now. It says Reverend Peter Popoff. What's that?
What do you think about the whole prosperity gospel and Peter Popoff? Creflo Dollar.
Ah, don't say that name on air. That's disgusting.
Creflo Dollar. Oh man.
They'll leave a bad taste in my
Get
mouth.
out with that. No. Bad news.
See, God want me to have this $2 million jet, and you know he beat his daughter.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I didn't hear about that.
Choked his daughter out and had him arrested. And Joyce Myers, oh, she is such a Freemason.
I just learned some interesting stuff about what's that other prosperity gospel preacher? Joel Osteen. I heard that he's actually a spiritualist high priest for the Freemasons.
You better believe it. As much as the snuggie gospel he preaches, God just love you, and it don't matter what you in. If you come back today and put $5 in the plane, I'll go before God and be your intercessor.
Oh man.
And he's always smiling too. He's always.
Yeah, like don't you ever get sore smiling that much? Like my gosh.
You know, he was on Oprah talking about we're all kings and queens and blah blah blah.
Time too.
Oh man.
Stupid.
Oh,
I don't even get it.
and then he made a video, or no, I'm sorry, that's Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland blasphemed God. He blasphemed the Holy Spirit, and he said, when God says I am, I say I am too.
Oh man.
Terrible.
Like, what the heck is wrong with you, Kenneth Copeland? It's a guy who comes on in Philly around like 1 o'clock in the morning. He has the gayest look ever. His eyes are so blue. His hair is so thick and blonde. He just looks like a doll. You know? Come on the screen just smiling, talking about. No, his last message he gave was pretty good. It taught me something. He said, whenever you hear the word for that, so is the proof. I was so hungry that I ate a horse, or something like that. He said, that message was all right, but everything else he say is gay.
Like in the homosexual sense, or literally just bad? It's a bad message.
Bad, but he do look like, I don't know, he be doing stuff with some transgenders or something.
Yeah. Would you say, Isaiah?
Have you heard of Kevin Terry?
I don't think so.
Yes, the guy who gave head to the other guy. I heard about him. Yeah, he was on the Gospel Awards singing the guy that with them lips.
Ugh.
Remember Pastor Steve told us about him. He was like, yeah, that's the dude who he was up there on the awards singing the guy and he was giving head.
Wow.
Gross.
Yeah, man.
What was his apology? I think he apologized for it.
No, I don't think he apologized. It was some girl who straight up defended him, talking about that he's a man of God and blah blah blah. Look, he need to get an STD test and then he need to repent.
Yeah, that girl literally probably thinks, oh, it's okay to be homosexual according to the Bible.
Ah, you know, most women do. Isaiah, what's your view on the homosexual thing? I think honestly, I think it's wrong, and not only is it wrong, but I think people can change from not living that lifestyle anymore. Because I just got finished talking to somebody else 2 days ago. He lived the gay lifestyle, and now he's married
To a woman, right?
to a woman. He's married to a woman. I'm not going to get his name in it like that.
You can see what happens when you hide it. Look at Ted Haggard. You knew he was hiding. He admitted he was hiding. He knew he was bisexual. So, no, he's not gay. He's gay. But it was something that he kept inside. He knew he was gay. He knew he couldn't change.
I think that's a lie. I think gay people not only can change, because the guy I was talking to, he said he thought he was never going to get married. He was only attracted to women, and now he got a wife.
Yeah. I remember when I first became a Christian, that was one of the first questions I had. It's something I struggled with because I come from a very strictly atheist, anti-God family. Not even atheist, just anti-God, anti-Christian family. And the gay thing, because everybody in my family is accepting of gays, most people are accepting of gays, is one thing I had to look into that I couldn't okay, what's the issue with this? I don't get it, God, what's going on? So I looked up the statistics, and even without the Bible, okay, you can throw the Bible in the trash and burn it and burn all the copies on the planet. It doesn't matter. Homosexuality makes absolutely no sense. It's just love. Well, genetically speaking, it doesn't make sense. If you have sex with a gay person, you're probably going to get a disease, and more likely than not, you're going to die half the age somebody straight actually would. So if that's love, forget it.
Yeah.
Well, like I say all the time, it's a culture of death, and they don't want to hear it. I love who I love. You can't tell me. Well, you're right. I can't tell you who to love, but I can just lay out some evidence and just show you based off of subject A, B, and C did. If you do this, you're gonna die too.
You can die from any type of sex. I mean,
Well,
anyway.
but you're more likely to get an infectious disease from having gay anal sex, and that's what like, dude, it's so bad. Two gay men can meet in the same room, never known each other before, never seen each other before, and it can just go down. Like no conversation, no nothing. They just have. That's not safe.
Yeah. And this isn't to say that straight people don't do the same thing. They do. It's just for gay people, there's a higher percentage of them who are more likely to do it. If you're gay, you're more likely to have AIDS than you are to be straight. It's a fact. It's not a question of if. It's a fact. That is the science. That is a discussion. That's an argument point. You think it's false? No, it's true.
AIDS is more prevalent in Africa due to the origins of AIDS.
Here we go. Talking about Africa. I know, because Africans are dirty. I know.
No, not Africans. It actually came from chimps. It's a virus in chimps called
Dude,
SIV.
I got the video showing that AIDS was made in AIDS has a patent number. You can look up the patent number and it'll come up with AIDS was made in the laboratory by Jews. Yes, I said it. Live on air. Live on air. Yes, I did.
It was actually transmitted from chimpanzees. People in Africa, they kill chimps for game and food.
For what? What?
Let me show you guys this video. I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to hear. I want to hear this. I want to hear this. Like, what's the official story?
in America make the Soviet efforts pale by comparison. Here to prove it are three of the most stunning and condemning documents in biological warfare history. First is a never-declassified congressional record of 1969 showing the Department of Defense requested $10 million to develop, quote, synthetic biological agents for germ warfare, end quote, through the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council, that is, the NAS, NRC. That's nearly half of the amount of money given to all of biological weaponry that year. These new laboratory creations were descriptively and functionally identical to HIV/AIDS. Mind you, this was 15 years before the contested discovery of the AIDS virus by this man, Dr. Robert Gallo, who, as you will see in a minute, oversaw Litton Bionetics, the Army's sixth leading biological weapons contractor at that time. Bionetics also operated the entire administration of the National Cancer Institute programs at Fort Detrick at that time as well. This private company was a medical subsidiary of the mega military weapons contractor called Litton Industries. Litton's president, Roy Ashe, was Nixon's alternate for the National Security Advisor post he gave to Kissinger. In consolation, the president made Ashe his White House chief of American business and industry. As Roy Ashe was joining the Nixon White House staff, Kissinger ordered Admiral Philmore of the Navy to do a reassessment of America's biological weapons capabilities. The Navy has always been at the forefront of such things. Bioweapons were cheaper to make and could be made to target certain people, even certain ethnic groups. There is no doubt that Fort Detrick's sudden cancer focus was part of a greater depopulation plan. According to congressional records, Time magazine's managing editor, Walter Isaacson, Kissinger selected the option presented by Admiral Philmore to develop AIDS-like and Ebola-like bioweapons. And the contract went to his White House colleague's company, Litton Bionetics. There is now no doubt that Dr. Gallo officiated the development of these AIDS complex viruses. His group at Bionetics combined leukemia, lymphoma, and sarcoviruses from various species of animals nearly 15 years before he was credited by the Department of Health and Human Services for having discovered the cause of AIDS, a similar retrovirus. They said this would lead to a cure, an AIDS vaccine, within 3 years. It never happened. I managed to catch up to Dr. Gallo at the 11th International Conference on AIDS in Vancouver in 1997. I asked him if he was concerned that some of his experiments might have given rise to the AIDS virus or AIDS virus relatives that might have contaminated monkeys and chimpanzees shipped by Litton to the Merck Vaccine Division in New York for the production of the earliest hepatitis B vaccines. Here is the exchange Dr. Gallo eventually apologized to me for. He was obviously aggravated.
Do you have any concern that your early experiments in taking simian virus 40 in the presence of simian foamy retroviruses and recombining them with cat leukemia and chicken leukemia sarcoma viruses might have given rise to HIV or its relatives following their culture in human tissues, and that these mutants could have contaminated some live viral vaccines produced in contaminated monkeys and chimps, supplied to vaccine manufacturers through your affiliates at Litton Bionetics?
Quite frankly, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'll cite your paper, Dr. Gallo.
If you can, the paper, I ever done.
Okay.
I sure like you cited.
I'd be happy to. National Academy of Sciences, 1970, Gallo et al. It was a world presentation before hotel audiences in Merle, Belgium. You published it in the National Academy of Sciences. I'd be happy to show you.
I mean, this beyond asinine. In Mole, Belgium, first trip to Europe, if I can remember it, a NATO meeting did take place. NATO meeting spawned all scientific meetings all over the world, even East-West at that time. Biologic meetings, scientific chemistry meetings, all kinds of meetings, meetings about motherhood, fatherhood, everything. And when I talked about it in old Belgium, it was in the 1960s, long before gene cloning took place, before I ever worked in virology. What I talked about was cellular transfer RNA, okay? And that's Mold Belgium. Proceedings of the National Academy of Science and SB40. I never published a paper in my life on SB40 except the transfer RNA species. In SB40 transformed hamster cells compared to non-transformed cells as a control. You've got pineapples, kiwis, grapes, and cherries mixed in with some other tutti frutti. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Excuse me.
I'm a little bit tired of this kind of nonsense.
Okay. And Gallo, Sarin et al. Were Lytton Bionetics researchers were your co-authors, in which you combined leukemia and chicken sarcoma viruses to create to evaluate the leukemia sarcoma complex models.
Yes, we did. Everything was created by us, working in the laboratory. Look, just for those with some little bit of understanding of this, who care about this kind of idea. I've had a lot of things said, but I've never had anything quite like that one. There were people who thought and made postulations that, it was not actually directed at me, this is a good one, a new one, but that HIV could have been created in laboratory experiments. There are two answers to that that are definitive, conclusive, that no scientist could have deliberately created them unless he was a super genius 10 years ahead of his time. The AIDS virus definitively existed long before molecular cloning. That's point one. Point two, you know the full sequence. You know HIV by our lab in 1985, Paris, the same around the same time. You know, no homology. Any known existing virus in the world that this IV discovered after it has nothing to do with cats, has nothing to do with chicken sarcoma viruses. SB40 is a DNA virus that comes from little animals that can transform cells in culture, has no sequences in HIV. Further, we never worked with SB40 with those viruses together, and if we did, the whole thing would be irrelevant. And I think you need to begin with Biology 101 high school.
These documents, including the U.S. government contracts, best explain how AIDS emerged on two far-removed continents in black Africans and gay New Yorkers by 1978. These were precisely the populations that received the first hepatitis B vaccine, produced in Lytton's chimpanzees just 4 years earlier. By the way, the man sitting to Dr. Robert Gallo's right is Dr. Jonathan Mann. At the time, Dr. Mann was the AIDS czar for the World Health Organization. Not long after Dr. Mann witnessed my exchange with Gallo, he quit his most esteemed position, saying, quote, far more than a medical problem, AIDS is a socio-political imposition, end quote.
What do you guys think?
I think he was lying.
Who?
And of course I disagree, because AIDS can trace its origin back to the 1800s, which is before we could create viruses, so it's not possible for us to have created it, because we don't know how to, humans didn't know how to do it back then.
That was the guy's argument, but he did it.
How would we do it when it existed before we knew how to do it?
But that's what I'm saying. It didn't. It didn't exist before we knew how to do it because he did it. He was the one who made it.
How did he do that?
No. What probably happened is he probably made a stronger strain or a stronger like variety of the virus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, a deadlier version of it. He probably took the existing version, studied it, and made his own version that was more deadly, and he probably put it in a vaccine so gays and blacks could die off.
It's not just black people.
Gays and blacks. That's what I said. Gays and blacks. And now, gay black men are more likely to get AIDS.
It's not just black people. It's the spot where AIDS originated in Africa. I mean, just like you have the the Black Plague, which originated in Europe. So you're going to expect that Europeans would be.
Well, no, I'm not saying that it wasn't in Africa. I'm saying they brought it over here through vaccines. They said, "Oh, this vaccine will cure you of this," and it really didn't. We even have information showing today that vaccines give people polio and stuff.
Polio. Do you know anyone with polio?
Just because I don't know anybody doesn't mean it doesn't happen. What does that have to do with whether I know somebody who has it or not? I'm telling you, that's the facts.
That's because of vaccines.
Especially Bill Gates' vaccines over in India. They're about to sue Bill Gates because Bill Gates' vaccines gave some of the kids polio. These vaccines are killing people.
Yeah, they are.
And the only people who are for the vaccines are the same people who believes in millions of years of evolution. Oh, vaccines won't kill you. This is modern science.
Yeah.
It's not no.
I definitely believe what you were saying too.
Nothing to do with evolution. It's just that I want to be safe. I'm not trying to die of polio.
Well, it's been proven that no medical doctor has cured anybody of anything. The only thing that happens is when they give you certain medicines, it'll reactivate your immune system to be stronger than it is. But the medicine doesn't cure you. It's your immune system that fights off that disease or that virus.
Yeah. Sometimes it's mutations which cause immunity. I mean, some white people have an immunity to AIDS, for example. I think it's only descendants of people who survived the Black Plague.
White people have an immunity to AIDS because they targeted gay black people.
Not all white people, just some.
Well, no, I'm telling you why some white people have an immunity to AIDS because they targeted black and gay people with the hepatitis vaccine that had AIDS in it. That's what I'm telling you. Tim, what you think?
Yeah, no, I believe that for sure. I mean, I got that one book, The Ultimate World Order, right here, that from the Zionists, their whole plan, and one of their plans has to do with a lot of that. They hate black people, they hate gays, they hate all of those people. They're probably some of the worst. The Zionists are probably, in my opinion, yeah, they're worse than the Nazis. 10 times worse.
Yeah, evolutionary worldview, Isaiah, because you believe in evolution and you don't believe in God and you're completely naturalist. You don't believe it. That shapes your worldview. Do you believe in the New World Order?
No, I mean, I believe there's
that shapes your worldview. Most people who believe evolution don't.
I believe there's like some sort of elites, like the Rothschilds, for example, Walt Gates. Sure, I'll accept that they have their hand in politics. I wouldn't reject that. I don't see why anyone would, but I'm not going to be like, okay, they're evil and they want to do this and that. I mean, I'm just saying they're manipulating.
They're evil. I mean, the UN. Just read about Lucius Trust or any of those other UN spokespeople.
The Lucifer Trust Fund.
Yeah.
Lucifer.
That's what it used to be called. Lucifer. What was it? Lucifer Publishing. Lucifer.
Yeah. By that one. What was it? New Ager. Alice Bailey.
Yeah.
Troublesome.
But yeah, I mean, Isaiah, you don't believe in the New World Order because you don't believe in God, because the New World Order is against God. So if you don't believe in God, who would the New World Order be against?
It has nothing to do with that. It's just
I know you. I'm saying I know you believe that. I know. I'm telling you. I know.
No, there's a limit to things. No, I'm just saying there's a limit to things I will believe. I mean, sure, I'll accept the Kochs, the Rothschilds. Sure, that's logical. That's undeniable. I'm not gonna go as far as to say, okay, there's a group of devil worshippers controlling everything.
Right, because you don't believe in the devil. I know. I know you.
But they are. I mean, look at your dollar bill. Look at these guys. Look into this. That's who built our country.
But remember I told you guys, evolution is going to be the sub-religion of the New World Order anyway. So people who believe in evolution are going to fall right into this. Oh yeah, let's go and let's take
ourselves. Let's put nanobots in our bodies so we can be super intelligent. It's crap. It's all crap.
Do you know who Jesse Ventura is?
Yeah, I know who Jesse Ventura is. He's an idiot.
He believes all this stuff about the New World Order and stuff. I believe he's an agnostic. I don't know what he is. He's an agnostic.
Because he's controlled opposition.
Yep.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is the New World Order isn't just against any god. They're against the God of the Bible because they know he's real. But you don't believe in the God of the Bible, so you wouldn't believe that the New World Order is fighting against God because you don't believe in God. You're a naturalist.
No, it has nothing to do with naturalism.
It has
I mean,
everything to
if,
do
if
with naturalism.
let's say there was some sort of super secret society controlling everything.
Let's
That
say
would
there
be,
is. See,
I'm saying it would be
this is like
natural.
evolution. It's not a belief. It's a fact. It's. Don't say. Let's say there is.
Fine.
There is a group.
It is. Yeah. It's real.
Whatever. Let's say there is, and they control everything. That's not going to conflict with naturalism or evolution. It's
I know.
not a.
I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. This is why you don't believe in it because they don't want you. It's hard to rule the world when people know you rule the world. But they want to do it from behind the scenes. The greatest trick the devil has ever done is convincing people that he doesn't exist. Why? Because when people don't believe you're a real entity or you're a real person or you exist, you're more likely to control things from the onset or behind the scenes. The people who are behind the camera, the people that are behind the music, the people that are behind the movies, the people that are behind the media, the people who you don't see, who you don't know, those are the people who control everything. The people who you see, those are the people behind the scenes put those people in front of the camera, in front of the paper, in front of the movies, because you can't rule anything. You can't do anything if you're behind the scenes. And I know for a fact because you're a naturalist, because you're an evolutionist, you don't believe in the New World Order because you play directly into their pocket. They don't have a problem with you. You don't believe they exist. You're actually more or less just as much of the problem as they are. Because the evolution religion is going to be the sub-religion of the New World Order. You can evolve. You can be God. You'll never die.
Yep.
You'll never die. Well, I would take telomerase, but that's another subject.
Well, you don't want to die. Well, are you afraid to die?
No, I mean I'm going to die. That's a reality. I mean I would like to live forever, but
What if you mix what is it? Machines with, what the heck is it called? We were kind of talking about it earlier, but we didn't really touch on the subject very much. When we mix machine with man.
Transhumanism.
Yes, thank you. That's a possibility. That is an actual scientific fact. It's like people think and theorize positively assert that immortality is within reach, within our lifetimes, right now.
I just did a report on it. Ray Kurzweil said 2030, people be putting nanobots in their bodies.
Yep, and it'll make us immortal. Jellyfish are technically already immortal, if anybody didn't know that, right now. They can die. They can still die. They're just, they're genetically immortal because they regenerate at a rapid pace.
Well, if that's true, the only question is, will Isaiah be willing to put those chips and stuff inside his body so he can be immortal, so he doesn't have to face God on Judgment Day?
Oh, did he leave? Why did he leave?
Too much truth, I guess. I don't know. Nah, his phone probably died.
Maybe.
But yeah, you guys, I think evolutionists and atheists are playing right into these people's hands. Because if you don't believe they exist, that's perfect. Because then you can't expose what they're doing. Because you don't think what they're doing is real anyway.
Do you think that when people start accepting these things to become immortal, that it's going to become a part of natural selection? They're going to say, oh, well, that's a part of natural selection because we figured out how to use science to be able to make ourselves immortal. And
remember these people are going around saying natural selection is evolution. It's not. You know they are. Well, you know.
Oh, science is evolution. What?
Yeah. Really?
I gotta give you a hand clap. Yes, that is their mindset. If you don't believe in evolution, you don't believe in science.
Yeah, and that I don't know. Man. That's the biggest. What is that called? I don't even know what that's called.
No true Scotsman.
There you go. That's it. No true Scotsman. If you don't believe in this, then you definitely don't believe in all of science. Oh, so all of a sudden, all of science is just completely out of my grasp. I can't understand it now? Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Funny. Scientists can do all of this, but they can't regrow the scalps of hair on bald men.
Yeah, really.
Thank God I can grow hair, but my dad is sick. I was thinking about that the other day too. I'm like, dang, I'm sitting there shaving my head by choice, and there's a lot of people that are just like, they're screwed like that. Holy crap! We're gonna find a cure. We're gonna find a cure for baldness one day, man.
There's already a cure for baldness. They're just not going to tell you about it.
Yeah. They got a lot of that stuff on lock and key.
Yep.
Well, I know. I know. I've heard olive oil works, like natural herbs, olive oil, black castor oil. I heard that works, but it doesn't. It just gives the effect of fullness. What else? I heard like natural herbs and vitamins and stuff like that. Drinking lots of water. My thing is, there. Like I told Mike this like maybe like what like a month or two ago. There are more young people going bald than ever. They just don't notice it. Dude, I get on the train and I'm seeing the freaking scalps galore.
That's funny.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious. And then, like, I see people with the patch back hair and they got the M up hair and, oh, Lord, what's going on with it? And, you know, like, sometimes your hair can show you if you have, like, an internal problem or not. And so I'm like, wow, is it because of the food we're eating?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
then
could be
you gotta think
possible.
and then you gotta think about all the people in Hollywood who get like hair grafts and hair transplants and stuff like this, so they can look like they never aged.
Yeah.
Like the guy Michael Douglas, I swear he wears a freaking wig. That's nice hair. So does what's the guy's name who played in Grease? The guy who likes to have sex in his penthouse. You know what I'm talking about, Mike.
Hey. Oh man.
Guy, I was about to say John Leguizamo. No.
No. Are you talking about the actor or the character he plays?
He's an actor. Oh gosh. He just.
Okay, I remember the character's name. It's
Hairspray. He plays in Hairspray. He wears drag on Hairspray. I'm typing his name right now. I mean, I'm typing in the movie so I can find out his name.
So famous too. I can't believe it.
I can't, dude. It's the foods and stuff we're eating. That's why we're losing our memory and stuff and getting Alzheimer's and stuff.
Yeah.
John Travolta, bam.
He's so gay.
He is. He
Well,
is.
actually, I have a second cousin who actually works for the Illuminati. He works in Hollywood. And he confirmed to my mom like 10 years ago that John Travolta goes to bathhouses and does gay stuff there, like gay bathhouses.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, he is definitely gay.
Oh, wow.
That was sad, man. But I'm about to get up off of here. It's been nice talking to you guys, man. We've been talking for a good like 3 or 4 hours, man. And
Oh, yeah.
I might have to change the title. We talked about evolution. We talked about what else did we talk about? We talked about our race. We talked about homosexuality. We talked about AIDS. We talked about the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had people tuning in and out like the whole time. So thank you guys for the guys who are watching. I didn't get your questions. If you guys did have a question, or just leave it in the comment section below. But I'm about to be out. And what do you guys think? Bald head, keep my hair like this, or here? Let me know.
Are you asking us or the
I'm
audience?
asking the people watching. Bald head.
Shouldn't you end it with like, oh, you need to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, not?
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Okay.
Oh man.
Okay, so if you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, don't do that. That's wrong. The Bible does not say accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. The Bible says believe in Jesus Christ, or the actual phrase is have an active faith in Jesus Christ. You need to have an active faith in Jesus Christ. You can believe that Jesus is God. That's great. Even the demons believe that Jesus is God. But you have to have an active faith in Jesus. Luke 9:23, Jesus said, whoever wants to follow me must first take up their cross, deny themselves, then follow me. What does that mean? That means that you have to stop doing some things that you think you shouldn't stop doing. Things like lying, cheating, stealing. Things like
Masturbating.
things like fornicating, masturbating, watching pornography. Things like smoking weed. Things like cursing. Things like being envious of people. Things like lusting after people who are not your wives. The Bible says that there's going to come a day where we're going to have to stand before God either by dying, or Jesus Christ is going to come back before we die and he'll judge us for the things that we did in our bodies, whether they were good or bad. Every evil thought you had, every evil intention. The Bible says God is going to even judge the intent of our heart for why we did the action. God is going to go as far to as judge the things that you thought about, why you were doing the actions. And you can believe in evolution. You can believe in Hinduism. You can believe in Islam. You can believe in Buddhism. You can believe in New Ageism. But just because you believe in it doesn't mean it's true. The
You can believe
Bible,
in
right. You can believe it's true all you want. But the fact of the matter is, the Bible is true because the history of the Bible is true. And if the history of the Bible is true, the gospel, which is Jesus Christ came to live, die, and was resurrected for the sins of the world. And all you have to do is believe on God and ask God to forgive you. And he'll do it. But you have to humble yourself before God. It's like if you have to go before a king or a queen. You fix yourself up. You put on a nice suit. You make yourself look appropriate. You have to humble yourself just like you come before a king or a queen. How much more would you have to humble yourself before the king of the world? With that being said, until next time, good luck and good night. Thanks for having, well, I thank you guys for having you guys on, Mike, Tim, Isaiah, Steve, Christian, Josiah, and whoever else was here. And I will talk to you guys again next time. All right, guys. Love you all.